It's time for Twit This Week in Tech. What a panel we have from Wired Magazine. Louise Matsakis is here. Staci Higginbotham is also here from Staci on IoT. And Phil Libin, the former CEO of Evernote. He's got a new product aptly named I'll let him explain. We'll also talk about TikTok and why that little bug where it's snooping your clipboard actually should be blamed on Google. We'll also talk about Amazon wanting to rule the world. Is that okay? And Quibi. Is there any hope? It's almost over, I think. All coming up next on Twit. This Week in Tech comes to you from Twit's LastPass Studios. You're focused on security, but are your employees? LastPass can ensure they are by making access and authentication seamless. Whether they're working in the office or remotely, visit lastpass.com/twit to learn more.
Podcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
This is Twit, This Week in Tech, episode 779, recorded Sunday, July 12th, 2020. No future in green pants. This episode of This Week in Tech is brought to you by Casper. Casper is a sleep brand that makes expertly designed products to help you get your best rest, one night at a time. Get $100 towards select mattresses by visiting casper.com/twit1 and using the promo code twit1 at checkout. And by Worldwide Technology. WWT's Advanced Technology Center is like no other testing and research lab with more than $500 million of equipment, including solutions from key partners like Intel Corporation. And it's virtual, so you can access it 24/7. To learn more and get insights into all it offers, go to wwt.com/twit. And by Molecule. Molecule is reimagining the future of clean air, starting with the air purifier. It's not just an innovation on existing technology, but a scientific breakthrough in air purification. For 10% off your first purifier order, visit molecule.com and enter the code TWIT10. And by Mint Mobile. Mint Mobile provides the same premium network coverage you're used to, but at a fraction of the cost because everything is online. Mint Mobile makes it easy to cut your wireless bill down to $15 a month with their 3-month introductory plan. You'll also get the plan shipped to your door free at mintmobile.com/twit. It's time for Twit This Week in Tech, the show where we cover the latest tech news with 3 of the best people I could find on short notice. No, that's not true. 3 of the best people in the business. I am really thrilled to get Louise Matsakis back. She is, of course, senior writer at Wired, staff writer. I just promoted you. You're senior.
Thank you. I appreciate
You're
that.
now
I was like, great.
Senior. You're in charge of Wired. At Wired, it's great to have you on. Actually, we have some topics that you are an expert in coming up. So,
can't wait.
Yeah, Louise has been writing a lot about the latest stuff. I also want to welcome Staci Higginbotham, who is normally relegated to This Week in Google.
Relegated?
Relegated.
I think I elevate everything.
Yeah, no,
Week in Google.
we are relegating, but you are elevating. So they go together. She is also a expert in many things, but primarily IoT. That's the name of her podcast and website, stacionIoT.com. The podcast is the IoT podcast that she does with the great Kevin Toffel. And you were on All About Android this week, so you've been very busy. Thank you for being part of our network this week.
I did lie to you. I was on Tech News Today.
Tech News Today. That's close.
It was Jason. It's Jason Howell.
Yeah, it's the same guy. It's the tall guy and the short guy together. Jason and Micah. And I want to welcome an old friend, a guy I've known many, many years. Back when he was CEO at Evernote, we became buddies. He's been on the show many times. He is now in charge of a group called All Turtles, which is kind of an AI think tank startup at all-turtles.com. He's the CEO there. Phil Libin, it's great to have you on.
Super fun to be back later.
Phil actually has a new product we're going to play with. In fact, you may notice every once in a while weird things happen with Phil. It's
no weirder than usual.
It's called which is really the culmination of many years of startup naming. We've slowly eliminated all the vowels. And now it's just 2 M's an H, and 2 more M's. Mm-hmm. And are you using mm-hmm right now, Phil? He is. Look at that.
I know. Yep.
I played with it. I was lucky enough to get an invite. Well, I think it might have something to do with knowing you, but I got played with it last night. It's so much fun. It's a virtual backdrop, but it also gives you over-the-shoulder graphics. You can also do weird things to yourself, like make yourself translucent and make yourself smaller. So you're actually not in a blue room.
I am not. I am in my stuck in my apartment in the Mission in San Francisco.
As many of us are these days. Well, not in your apartment, but our various abodes. And it's really nice to be able to get on a Zoom call and not be in your normal environment. I love some of the environments you have. There's a brick wall. There's kind of an industrial space. There's bookshelves. There's some really fun backgrounds. And there's also just plain backgrounds like that.
I like this. This is like a newscaster Daily Show kind of effect. The little side.
Exactly.
Whatever. What is that? Is there a word for that?
Over-the-shoulder graphics is what we call it.
Oh, so fancy. I knew you'd have one.
Yeah. And that's and I think that was your intent, right, Phil's, to kind of give people the ability to do kind of newsy style presentations. You can even have slideshows and other things in that over-the-shoulder graphic. Just kind of
cool. The inspiration was very much instant weekend update. That's how we pitched it.
All right, so
I'm not good enough. I don't have a good enough graphics department to be funny and talk about IoT.
You're already there practically. You've got the backdrop. For all we know, this is not Staci's new home. This could be just anywhere with a special backdrop put in there.
By Wednesday, I will have my actual shelves delivered.
That's okay. That's okay.
COVID delays all.
Yeah, isn't that the truth? Staci just moved and is slowly upgrading her place. Let's talk TikTok, because that's one of the stories, Louise, you've been covering, and it's a very interesting story. This week, TikTok, a number of things happened. One, because of iOS.
Big week.
It was a big week for TikTok. The first story was when iOS 14 became more widespread in its public beta. People started noticing that TikTok was snooping on their clipboard. And
right.
The fear was that it was actually trying to see passwords and things like that.
Yeah, exactly. So that was the fear. And TikTok actually put out this really long technical post explaining that the reason for that is that it was an anti-spam measure. According to them, they are not storing that clipboard data, and they're basically just looking to see, are you copying and pasting the same comment basically over and over again onto a video, or are you just putting that comment on every single video you see, et cetera. But I think because of all of the other stuff going on with TikTok, this particular issue kind of raised a lot of fears for people, and they shut it off basically immediately.
I think the companies doing this have got to get together on their stories, though, because LinkedIn also got busted, and their excuse was what? They had a different reason. It was due to a software bug, but they said the same thing. But we don't read it, we don't store it, we don't save it. LinkedIn is now the target of a class action lawsuit from people. There were a total, I think, of 56 applications caught doing this. But honestly, now I could see, I understand why people would assume the worst with TikTok. It's owned by a Chinese company. There's always been a lot of concern that it might be a spy tool. We're going to get to some more stories from other people who are worried about that. But LinkedIn is a Microsoft company. I don't think it seems likely that LinkedIn would take the reputational risk of doing this if they were to get caught. Phil, you've overseen a lot of software development. How is it that this particular bug could get into at least 56 applications? I'm going to guess it's many, many more that we're going to discover that are doing this.
Yeah, and it's notable that all of these bugs that are, super creepy, potentially privacy invading bugs, they'll go in that direction, right? You rarely hear of a bug where companies like, oh, due to a bug, we're not snooping on you.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
We wanted to snoop on you, but we don't seem to be able to.
Yeah, it's a bug. Yeah, we just can't do it. I was on LinkedIn literally today, and I saw this ad, which
Phil,
says,
explore irrelevant opportunities with Irvin's salted egg.
Yeah.
What is that?
Now, right. So now I'm not looking for a job right now. But this is my favorite brand. Irvin Salted Egg is my favorite brand of salted, eggy fish skins. And I literally ate a crate of them last time I was in Singapore. It's a real thing.
So how did they know that?
Well, exactly. So probably they bought my credit card data because I've never said anything about it.
Oh, interesting.
But they probably bought, I probably bought some with a credit card in Singapore. And they probably bought my credit card data and used it to serve up this ad. Now, look. If my company were to get acquired, I hope it gets acquired by Irvin Salted Egg. So maybe I would explore opportunities there, but it's creepy, right? And so I'm 99% confident that the cut and paste bug really was a bug. But when you put it in this environment with all this other creepy stuff that they're doing intentionally, it's hard to say for sure, and I think it erodes trust and confidence in these companies, even when they're innocent of any kind of intentional malfeasance. Those things.
Really, but they're actually potato chips.
No. Yeah, those potato chips are for the amateur American market. You need the fish skins. Scroll down.
I have many questions, but mostly I just want a bag to taste.
They're salty.
Where are the eggs?
Yeah, where's the egg involved?
An egg batter.
Oh,
Yeah.
I see. Okay.
The potato chips are lame. The fish skins. You want the fried fish skins.
I was ready for what are those eggs called that are banned in the U.S.? Those chocolate eggs. The UK. I was ready for some
Cadbury, the Cadbury cream eggs.
Yeah, exactly. We can't have them in the U.S. because they're a choking hazard because they have little toys inside.
It's the green one, or sorry, orange and white. What are they?
Kinder.
I used to bring them to my kid.
Cadbury, Kinder,
Kinder
yes.
Cadbury.
Yes,
Oh, Lord. Because they have toys in them. And, of course, that does sound kind of dangerous. I have to admit.
They're small toys. But most kids, I feel like you're smart enough not to eat the Kinder Egg toy.
If you knew the Kinder Egg had a toy in it.
Right.
But look, you know how in the U.S. you buy a pack of Q-tips? A friend of mine tweeted about this.
It says don't eat them. Yeah.
It says don't put them in your ear. For the love of God, do not put these anywhere near your ear. Right?
But that's what you do with Q-tips.
But you go to any other country and Q-tip packaging is photos of people blissfully putting
them in their ears. Yeah.
Because that's obviously what you're supposed to do with them. Except other countries are when our citizens put stuff in their ear holes and it starts to hurt, they don't push it any further. But Americans can't be trusted to do that. So,
I think it has to do with class action lawsuits. And
quite likely, yeah.
Yeah, lawyers are saying, look, if you say on the box, don't put it in your ear, and they put it in their ear, we're off the hook.
It's on them.
Oh, my God.
I was going to ask about, is it the bugs, all of this, is it a software reuse thing? I mean,
that's
people
what
yes.
That's exactly what it is.
That's what I suspected. Okay. Yeah.
It's a Google SDK feature that TikTok had used.
There you go.
Oh.
Yeah. So that's exactly what I really encourage if you want to know more about this. I thought the TikTok post, obviously they're trying to exonerate themselves, but I thought that the technical explanation of how this got into the app and what they were using it for, was pretty clear. And made a lot of sense because when you hear copying clipboard, it's really scary.
And I think this is why I think you can't expect your engineers to be they're solving a problem, right? They're oh, I need to do this. Here's the easiest, fastest way to do this. You need to have someone whose job it is. Sure, they should think about the other thing, but someone needs to come in and say, hey, what are all the ramifications of this? What is the worst that could happen? Because a lot of companies, I don't think they think that way because they're optimistic. They're Silicon Valley tech companies. Half of them are trying to do good and change the world. The other half are probably a little bit more nefarious and, working around it. But I do think companies really, given the heightened scrutiny and the freak out and the prominence in our lives, really need to start having the people who are worried about class action lawsuits. I don't want it to go that far, but that's what they need.
Louise, what is the intent of that Google SDK? What is it used for?
I'm not exactly sure. I can pull up the post and see. I looked at it yesterday, but we can look more at it.
Did TikTok call it out?
I think they did. Yeah, they specifically called it out.
It's funny because both Staci and I had the same thought, which is actually I didn't think it was a Google SDK. I thought it was something on Stack Exchange. That the developers said, how do you do this? And found some code, which happens all the time. Why rewrite it? And they copied it and pasted it, and it just turned out 56 apps copy and pasted the same code with the same, it's not a bug, the same odd feature that was snooping on the clipboard. There is good reason to snoop on the clipboard. A lot of apps do that intentionally because you might leave passwords there, Bitcoin wallet numbers there. There's all sorts of stuff that is very likely on your clipboard. In fact, our sponsor LastPass and most other password managers clear the clipboard pretty regularly for that very reason. They don't want to leave passwords on the clipboard.
But I think
so I just looked at the post, and it says by the integration of Google Ads SDK. It doesn't
it's
say
an ad
exactly.
SDK. Okay.
Yeah.
So, okay.
Well, so there you go, right?
That proves it.
That's my point.
That's how they knew about the egg chips.
Right,
so that's actually a little nefarious.
Yes.
I mean, they're...
It's a lot nefarious, right? Like the outrage here shouldn't be about the particular bug. Like, yeah, this bug was innocent in the sense that they probably weren't trying to spy on your pasteboard and do anything nefarious with it. But the problem is all of these things happen because of ads.
Right.
Because of targeted
ad tech.
ads.
It's ad tech, yeah.
Creepy advertising is going to eat the world.
So just to kind of dot the I and cross the T here, you were using TikTok, and for some reason on your clipboard was perhaps, well, no, in this case, you didn't order anything online from Irvin's Salted Egg. The only information they could have gotten was from a credit card. But perhaps
my guess is from a credit card. It's possible that I texted something about it, but I don't think so because I'm not actually going to publicly admit to any of my friends that I ate my weight.
This is one problem.
I don't think I told anyone.
One problem with fasting is that when you get off the fast, you will eat anything. And a lot of
and honestly, it's not that keto friendly because I think there's quite a lot of sugar in that egg batter.
I'm guessing,
but it's delicious. Yeah, they must have gotten my credit card, which is creepy.
Another place they snoop.
Selling this info.
Yeah, another place they snoop. Right.
That is the creepiest data.
Yeah.
I think it's actually kind of funny and interesting that LinkedIn would even think that there would necessarily be a correlation. I mean, maybe there is for a lot of people, but I don't think necessarily most of the stores that I frequent with my credit card purchases are places that I want to work.
But this is exactly what's wrong with this ad tech. And we all know this is these ad recommendations are always hilariously inaccurate, right? So they made a mechanical connection between the fact that you bought a lot of Irvin's Salted Eggs. They made that connect, which are dangerously addictive. We agree. But they made that connection. And because LinkedIn is about job hunting, they said, it's still an ad, but they put that 2 and 2 together and got 8. It's just a weird, but that's what happens all the time.
You know what else is dangerously addictive is creepy advertising.
Yeah, no kidding.
Lazy business models enabled by it, which are ultimately bad for the world.
So just as Google used to perhaps sniff through your Gmail looking for keywords so that they could advertise to you, they stopped doing that, but now apparently they have an SDK that's worse. It snoops on your clipboard, and then if a brand name goes by, or they're not stealing your passwords, I'm sure, or your Bitcoin wallet, but as a brand name goes by or something like that, they'll make a note of that and they'll show you ads for that product.
Yeah, Phil, to your exact point, I just was looking at the TikTok post and literally it says, the ubiquitous nature of third-party ad programs helps explain why so many other apps indicated similar behavior.
Yeah.
So it's yeah, exactly. All these apps were just caught doing advertising.
They got caught.
Yeah.
Makes perfect sense. Do you think they're doing this knowingly? Like they know that Google's scraping the clipboard? They must, right? Or no? Maybe it's part of being in the Google ad network that you get this code.
Yeah, I don't think that it's populating in a server somewhere where they're collecting all of it, and then storing it, indefinitely or anything like that. So I honestly think it's potentially something that they're not particularly aware of actually until this iOS notification came out.
So 2 points to come out of this. One, thank you, Apple. Apple's doing more and more to surface this. Ironically, I think Apple is only doing it because their own iAds failed. So since they couldn't make money in ad tech, they
don't look at.
They'll ruin it for everyone else.
Yeah, it's a gift horse.
Who cares why they're doing it? They're doing the right thing.
Given a lemon, let's make some lemonade. But it is a gift horse. There's a lot of other things Apple's going to do in iOS 14. For instance, the permission for the Apple Ad ID will pop up when you install an app. And you can, at that point, you can turn it off now in the settings, but it's buried deep. But you can, at that point, every time you install an app, say, yeah, don't give that app any information. Advertisers are terrified because that's going to be a huge loss of data. So you're right. This is a part of the war between ad tech and consumers. That's disappointing. All of the companies that were caught have said, oh, it's a bug, we'll fix it. In other words, we got caught, so we're going to fix it now. Kudos to Apple for surfacing it, and I suspect when iOS 14 gets in widespread use, it may be we find some other companies doing the same thing. So that was strike one against TikTok. I don't know if it's related, but a number of companies, Wells Fargo just said you can't put TikTok on your company phone. Briefly, Amazon sent out a letter saying you can't use TikTok to Amazon employees. Then they said, no, that was a mistake. What was that about, Louise?
Yeah, so my understanding is from having talked to some sources in the last couple of days is that this was a decision that was made not with the Amazon's CSO's knowledge. So basically top C-suite security people didn't realize this was happening. So they basically were caught with their pants down, and this email went out, and it looked really dumb because Amazon is a major advertiser with TikTok, and they have been collaborating on a feature together that lets you shop directly on Amazon from TikTok. So their marketing people were really mad. I think basically immediately they got on calls with TikTok and they were like, hey, we're so sorry about this. It looked really bad, but I think it is indicative of kind of the wider, concerns that people have about TikTok. But yeah, it was really embarrassing for Amazon, honestly. It was obviously, another nail in the coffin for TikTok potentially, but it was a very bizarre couple of hours on Friday for me as someone who primarily covers TikTok and Amazon.
Together at last. It was a story made for Louise.
I really felt that way.
They were thinking of you when they sent out that letter. Mike Pompeo, the Secretary of State, this week on Fox News said, we are thinking about banning TikTok, Chinese apps in general, but especially TikTok. Didn't say they're going to do it. They're thinking about it. India did. And there are a lot of Indian influencers who are very upset. Little lesson learned there, but they built their business, some people over a couple of years, making money on TikTok. Now they don't have that outlet anymore. So here's the question, really. Is there anything to fear from TikTok? It's a Chinese company. They're trying to pretend they're not. For instance, in Hong Kong, they've withdrawn from Hong Kong because they're afraid that they would have to give information to China. There's stories going around that they're trying to get out of China somehow. Any company that operates in China, whether it's Huawei or TikTok, presumably is going to have to adhere to the laws of China, which would, just as in the United States, mean that they would give information to the Chinese authorities. Should we not be using, Louise, you use it?
I do use TikTok. I have to for my job, honestly. I think that I'm not particularly more scared of TikTok than I am any other app that relies on advertising as a business model. I think that my threat model might be different if I were a U.S. diplomat, if I were...
Yeah, U.S. diplomats shouldn't be using TikTok. I will grant you that.
Army personnel. Yeah, or something like that. I don't think that there's been specific, concrete security concerns that have been identified about this app. And I think that anything that comes from U.S. officials has to be viewed kind of in the context of China-U.S. relations, which I would, very gently say are at an all-time low.
Yeah.
So I think it's important to keep that in mind. And I think that a lot of people don't really understand ByteDance, which is the company that owns China, they own China, the company that owns TikTok and kind of the role that it plays in China. It's kind of like the Facebook of China in a lot of ways, and very similarly to how Facebook pisses off U.S. authorities, ByteDance has pissed off the CCP and gotten in trouble for things like letting what the CCP considers to be lewd content go viral. I think that it's best to view TikTok through the lens of capitalism and through the lens of another big tech giant that primarily makes its income through targeted advertising. and is incentivized to get you to spend as much time on the app as possible, to make its features as addicting as possible. And that is the best way to think about the risks, I think, for the average person. But if anyone knows any specific security concerns related to its Chinese ownership, I'm open to that. But I don't think we've seen that.
What's your Signal account?
Yes, please DM me on Twitter if you know anything about that. I'm open to it. I think it's naive to be dismissive.
Yeah.
But I do get a large whiff of xenophobia anytime that this topic comes up. And I think a lot of the people shouting the most about it have the least knowledge about China. And I think that should be kind of indicative. But, that said, I'm open-minded. I'm not, I'm not here to apologize for the CCP. But I think that, they're an advertising company that wants as much data on you as possible to serve you advertisements,
Well, and to be clear, I think now we understand that the problem with these apps isn't what you put on these apps, the content you post, the videos kids post on TikTok. The problem is that it's on your phone, and that because it's on your phone, it has access to all sorts of information about your location, what's on your clipboard, all sorts of things. And I think honestly, Phil, you can tell me, you're in this business. Any app you put on your phone is very likely collecting as much information as you'll let it.
Well, I mean, I think that depends a lot on the design of the app.
But isn't that one of the reasons you want to get on a phone?
I mean, it's never motivated me or any of the stuff that we've built.
Right.
Just because we have a philosophy that we're going to get data that is very clearly beneficial to the end users, and we're going to explain why we're getting it. The philosophy here is it's called Beneficent Design. So the idea behind Beneficent Design is you make every single decision based solely on what's in the best interest of an informed end user. So you just say, well, if the user understood exactly what was happening, would they want this? Would they be okay with it? And if the answer is ever in doubt, then you just don't do it. But yeah, a lot of and many companies operate that way, but none of the ad-supported ones do. And I really do think it's an issue of the targeted ad-supported business model, which puts a fundamental conflict of interest between what the customers want and where the money comes from. Sorry, what the users want and where the money comes from. And when you have that, it's all sorts of bad behavior. So anything ad-supported is sketchy in my book.
It's not unusual though for even a paid app to do some of this.
No, of course not. But a lot of the stuff is like
that's double dipping. You
would want for the end user, right? There's legitimate functionality. So for example, if in iMessage, if you just in iMessage text someone, where you at, they will get an option in the autocomplete to just push a button to reply with their location, right? Like it's doing that. It obviously you have to enable that the first time. It's looking up iMessage on the person who received it is looking at their location so that they can push the button and in one tap, reply to you where you are. Like that is a plausible thing that you can do. Get your location in iMessage so that you can quickly communicate it. Again, with an opt-in. So I think stuff like that is fine. Those are convenience features. But no one wants their information to be used for weird targeted advertising, and that becomes the root of a lot of the problems.
Staci, as I remember, you don't let your daughter do TikTok.
She doesn't want to do TikTok.
Good for her.
Her goal in life is to become a spy, and she wants to keep herself off the internet as long as possible.
Is that true?
I'm like, okay, sure. I have no problems with that.
I do worry a lot though about anytime there's a move that sort of says, well, you shouldn't trust TikTok because it's a Chinese company, that kind of stuff. That radically turns me off. I think that's an extremely dangerous path to go down. We start basically excluding products and companies based on their national origin. That's just not going to end well, and it's not going to end well for American companies.
Well, and it is a political thing going on in America right now. Go ahead. Yes.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Oh, I was going to say, for 10 years, I've been hearing about Huawei because I was in the telecom industry as a reporter, and for 10 years, I have looked, and yes, there was government ownership of Huawei. There are things that are questionable, but in 10 years of hunting, there has never been any proof. And every now and then you just bring this up. again and again. So to me, I mean, the whole issue with TikTok and ByteDance, it's similar. And I think we're going to have to get used to this, because I think what we're seeing is lots of companies around the world, mostly China, they're creating products that people in the US want to consume. And that's actually good.
I am so
That's good
torn.
for all of us.
I am so torn because, of course, first of all, I love China. I was a Chinese major in college. So I don't like the jingoistic, vaguely racist idea of, oh, those people there, we don't like them. We don't want any of their products. But it is the case that China has economics. I don't think China has military designs on the world, but they definitely have economic designs on the world. They aren't a democratic country. They have a president for life. And it is certainly Huawei's behavior in other regards has sometimes been bad. I've heard lots of stories about them wandering the aisles at trade shows trying to, snarf up intellectual property. China does that. Many Chinese companies do that.
Companies in the U.S. do that too.
I know.
There's no
challenges.
lock on.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. There's bad behavior on both sides. That's probably fair. So I want to rule out the jingoistic stuff. At the same time, if you're putting Huawei gear in all of your 5G equipment and it's software defined radio equipment, so an update could completely change its behavior at any time, I'm not surprised that some governments would be concerned about that. So I don't know what the right answer is. Is that not something we should be concerned about?
I mean, it is. So we should be concerned about that. But if we are concerned about that, we need to be concerned about that throughout our entire silicon and software stack.
Absolutely.
On anything with, and we're not. And I don't think we can be. We don't have the economic incentives in place. So, and also, I would also say we need to think about that with regards to the phones that people who are our diplomats, our leaders should maybe not be on Twitter on actual phones that they use.
Yeah.
I mean, then we have to be
that Android
consistent.
7 phone is probably not the ideal tweet device.
So I don't, it's a hard thing. And I'm not against us deciding that we're going to kick all of, anything made in China that's strategic. Like if we decide a 5G network is strategic, which Trump certainly has, but we still send lots of data over 3G networks. And, those are.
Good point. Good point. Yeah. And it does feel a little bit jingoistic. It doesn't, it feels like it's more an arm of trade policy and anti-China sentiment than it does actual concern about security. I just feel, well, for instance, we know because of the economic climate, companies that are now using China for manufacture, chiefly Apple, are looking at other outlets. Foxconn is apparently looking at building an Indian factory to help Apple start to move iPhone production perhaps out of China. I mean, one of the reasons you do that is because India has very steep tariffs against products not made in India. And for the same reason Foxconn has a Brazilian factory. But the most recent story implies that Apple is moving away from China. This comes from the Times of India, so I don't know how credible it is.
Well, and our national leadership at the moment is picking fights with the rest of the world.
So
and we do live in
be prudent.
We live in a global economy.
Right.
And when you're in a global economy, you can't just go around punching people in the face and calling them ugly and expect to work with them later. I'm serious.
That's a good line. Yes, I agree. And we know we can't make everything in the U.S. We might want to, but we don't have the ability yet to do that.
And I don't think we'd want to. It's not economically viable. I mean, guns and butter, people. Guns and butter. Anyway.
I mean, do you think that's impossible? An impossible goal to say, well, wouldn't it be great if we just did all our manufacture here in the U.S.? We designed this. It's designed in California.
I don't think it's impossible, but I don't think that's necessarily what we'd want to do. I mean,
but this
other
is the
countries
level
have sources of expertise
Right.
and materials and like economic benefits.
This is the conversation that we should be having, as opposed to these guys, Go ahead, Louise.
I was just saying, like, keep an eye on the ball. Like, I would love to see a national federal privacy law passed, right? Like, if we want to, tackle these issues, I think we need to have, robust regulation that is not just targeting companies from a specific country, but is, deciding what kinds of privacy rights every American should be entitled to.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hear, hear.
Hear, hear. Right on, Louise.
I would support moving at least 50% of TikTok manufacturing to the U.S.
Well, Taylor Lorenz's article in the New York Times says a lot of TikTokers in the U.S. are very worried at Mike Pompeo's rhetoric because they make a lot of TikToks here in the U.S. It's very popular.
It's the first time.
Sorry, go ahead, Phil, and then Staci, and then Louise. I'll have to traffic.
Pompeo just can't do most of the dance moves, and
I think Mike needs a TikTok account. He'd feel a lot better about it if he did. Go ahead, Staci.
I was going to say I think this might be the first time that some of these kids has probably paid attention to Mike Pompeo, other than his like.
I think you're right. Louise, did you want to add anything before we move on?
Oh, just that there are a lot of really good memes on TikTok about Mike Pompeo's interview.
Oh, are they?
And they're super funny. Yeah, there's a whole meme that's like people joking about like distracting Trump so he doesn't delete TikTok. Like there's a girl who puts like orange makeup on and she like dances sensually while like stacking bricks, like pretending to be making a wall. And she's like, look over here, Trump, like, don't delete TikTok. We need this app, which is pretty funny.
Should I feel left out of the conversation if I don't have an active TikTok presence?
You probably get more sleep than I do as a result.
Oh, are you doom scrolling or tick scrolling?
I'm definitely doing a lot of TikTok scrolling late at night, which is not great because it's so like mobile friendly that even if I like close my laptop and, put away everything else, I don't know. I mean, why not get an account that you can just check out here or there? I think there's no, even if you're just like,
that's exactly
what. Beautiful.
I mean, who wouldn't love this picture of a dog relaxing on a lawn chair? But this is exactly why I got rid of my TikTok account. It's because it is addictive. It's funny.
Right.
If Meg Whitman and Jeffrey Katzenberg had just done the right thing, they could have invested a lot of money. Instead of Quibi, they should have made TikTok. It is mobile friendly, but somehow I'm in the lounging dog.
This is a good area to be in. I'm loving the lounging dog area.
Wait a minute. Here's the bunt cake area. He's making an American. He can't get the bunt cake. Oh no. Okay. Bunt cake failure. This is, I don't know. We're not listening to the music, which is a lot of what TikTok is all about.
Yeah, I like understanding what is the cool music to be listening to. Yeah. I'll be honest, as an old person.
Jeez. See, I look at this and I go, "Oh, please, I can't stop." And that's exactly why I deleted my TikTok. I feel for you, Louise. All those late nights. No, Mom. No, don't do it. Don't do it, Mom. She duct taped his phone to his face. Now, they stopped that TikTok too early because I sure would like to know what he did after that. Okay. All right. We're gonna take a break. See, the mistake of doing this is now everybody's going to stop listening to the show and download TikTok and start looking at all these over and over and over and over again. It is highly addictive.
I think it's fun to watch people. I mean, a good half of them are just people being goofy. It's so weird.
What happened? Didn't Vine own this? What happened?
Well,
Vine was like a low rent TikTok.
What's a low rent TikTok mean?
I'm so judgy.
That is really judgy. What happened, Louise?
My daughter loves Vine, believe it or not.
Vine is TikTok. Was TikTok until they killed it. Until Twitter bought it and killed it.
I think Twitter kind of messed it up, honestly. I don't think that they really saw the potential. That was also like pre-Instagram stories. So I feel like we weren't really ready for like short form video in that, sense. Like TikTok came at the right time where everyone was like, oh, I'm already watching short vertical video from my friends. Why not also watch it from funny strangers?
So now the former founder of Vine has a new thing called Byte, which apparently all of the TikTokers in the U.S. are thinking about moving to. At least that's what Taylor Lawrence says in the New York Times. It's not going to happen. It's TikTok, right?
I've had some fun on Byte, but yeah, I checked it out when it first came out a couple months ago, and I wasn't super impressed. But there also wasn't that many people on it yet, so I don't know. I'll give Byte a chance. But
one of the things that actually can ruin this, and some people were worried TikTok was going to get ruined, is when the celebrities get on it. That did not seem to harm TikTok.
I did like cringe a couple times when I saw like Bob Saget and stuff on my For You page.
Yeah.
But I think it's like segregated enough that like, I don't know, it's not like
you
you're
don't
going to
have to see it. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I think I might have actually blocked Bob Saget.
You wouldn't be the only one, I'm sure. Let's take a little break. It's great to have Louise Matsakis here from Wired Magazine, our great dear friend, Staci Higginbotham from This Week in Google and Staci on IoT. And another old friend, Phil Libin from all-turtles.com, and his new program, mmhmm. What's the deal with the name, mmhmm?
Well, I mean, I think you said it last time. We wanted a memorable name.
Yeah, we were talking about it on Mac Break Weekly. And it was, it's just mmhmm. It is memorable. It's
a palindrome. You know, I always wanted a palindromic name.
That's good. Yeah.
Yeah.
And as you said, I think on another interview, you said it's performative. You tend to want to perform it.
Yeah, that's really the main thing. Is this is a sound that anyone can make without thinking about it, right? Everyone just says all the time in conversation, but it's actually kind of tough to say intentionally. You have to pause for like half a second because you can't just say it. You have to perform it. You have to think about how you're going to inflect it, how you're going to pronounce it. And it's a name that you can't say thoughtlessly. Like every other company name or product name that I've ever seen, you could just say it without thinking about it. And you can't. Every time you say it, it's like a little micro performance. And since the product is for performing, we kind of thought it was cool too.
I like it. It is a virtual camera that you can use to create more interesting Zoom conversations. And you're on Skype right now. You said you had to do a little bit of hacking with Skype. Oh, look, it looks exactly the same. Oh, now you have a brick room. It's a virtual background. It does a very good job of the virtual background. That's hard to do well.
Yeah, there's a bunch of really cool things that you can do with it. But yeah, people should just watch that YouTube video. We've had a tremendous amount of fun making it, and you know, this was our first kind of post-COVID quarantine project. So this is it is our first kind of lockdown native product.
I like it. Your timing is obviously very good.
To make this, before.
It is right now invite only.
It is, yeah.
Are you going to charge for it? What is the deal?
Yeah, I mean, this is it's very much a Godfather 3 moment for me. This is every time I try to get out, they drag me back in. It's going to be a freemium model of some kind.
Was Evernote your first?
My first freemium? Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Yeah, so it'll be freemium. There'll be a free version, and then there'll be something that you pay for, but we haven't figured out exactly what. The plan is to spend the summer in beta. So in beta, everything's going to be free, and we just want to work with people to do interesting things with it, kind of figure that out, invite more and more people through into it, and then we'll go live in early fall, and by then we would have figured all this stuff out, hopefully.
You can go to mmhmm.app to sign up, get an invite when those are available. .app. I think it's fun to play with. There is a threat because virtual cameras don't always work. Like Zoom, it comes and goes. Like we've used, Snap has a virtual camera that we practically had to ban from our Zoom meetings because people were coming in as giant fish and all sorts of things. But it would work sometimes and then it wouldn't work sometimes because it seems like the software sometimes allows virtual cameras and sometimes doesn't. You probably are intimately familiar with this issue. What's going on?
Yeah, so we don't. I guess the short answer is that you only need the virtual cameras for one of the use cases, which is the video conference meeting use case. And there, yeah, it works great with all of the newer versions of Zoom. They basically reintroduced virtual cameras just like a week ago. They were shut off for a while they made some security improvements, but they're back. So it works with Zoom, with Google Meet, with Microsoft Teams, with Blue Jeans, with just about everything. But I think the video meetings are like one use case, but I actually think the streaming use case is probably bigger. Okay. It's just for people who want to make content.
Right.
And or to make presentations. So there's a lot of stuff that isn't just video meetings that I think people do. So I feel pretty good about the state of it, where it works. And yeah, Skype it doesn't work with. So I've had to seriously abuse Skype on my Mac because it doesn't work, which I don't recommend other people do.
So are virtual cameras
a
security threat? What is it that Zoom didn't like about them?
I don't think virtual cameras themselves are a security threat. I think the way that apps handle plugins of any kind might be. They're not done correctly. So I think they took them out while they kind of hardened their whole plugin architecture.
Got it. That makes sense. Yeah, they've been working hard to be more secure.
Yeah, their number one feature. But yeah, they brought it all back.
Because people like virtual cameras.
Yeah, and again, I think the idea of a virtual camera, like that's not a long-term concept. But you'll be able to do this sort of thing inside of any video presentation, permanently, and we'll navigate through it just like we did with Evernote and all of the other companies, and figure out the best ways to do it. And for whatever year we happen to be in. In 2020 right now, it's virtual cameras in Zoom. It's something else in other platforms. All that stuff are just technical details.
Microsoft has added custom backgrounds to Teams, and one of them is really absurd. Let me see if I can find it. It's not on this post. It looks like everybody in the large meeting. It's not on this post. Everybody in the large meeting is in an auditorium. If I can find it, it's just ridiculous.
Oh, that's their press photos. If you see just Google the story, and I bet you're going to come up with a
Teams auditorium virtual background. Maybe it's so. Yeah, here it is. It's called teacher mode or together mode. Sorry. I don't know.
Or John Malkovich mode.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. This
Very weird.
Be the same person, and then it's obviously that like just put John Malkovich's face in all of those.
See, if we all looked like John Malkovich, that would be great.
That is John Malkovich mode. Yeah.
That would be John Malkovich mode. Yeah, this is everybody's trying to figure out. But this is, as you point out, Phil, this is just for right now. So you have ambitions beyond just the Zoom era. We're going to call this the Zoom era that we're in. Good. Well,
we do have ambitions.
We'll play with it a little bit. Our show today brought to you by our good friends at Casper. As we all know these days, it's hard to get a good night's sleep. Too much doom scrolling. You got to get off the doom scrolling, Louise. If you have a nice mattress, maybe it'd be a little easier to get to sleep. Casper really innovated on this direct-to-consumer model, realized early on that the biggest problem in mattress buying is the mattress store. That's where all the markup happens. If only you could sell direct to customers. The problem is people like to sleep on their mattresses before they buy. Casper came up with a brilliant idea. Sure, then, we'll give you a 100-night risk-free trial. If at any time in the first 100 nights you decide you don't like your Casper, they'll come and get it, refund you every penny. There's no risk at all. But I got to tell you, I don't think it happens very often. These Casper mattresses are phenomenal. My first Casper was the original Casper. They still sell it. It combines multiple supportive memory foams for a quality sleep surface, just the right amount of sink and bounce. Its breathable design lets you sleep cool. That's really important. Hot summer night, if you can sleep cool, you're going to sleep much, much better. The original mattress now has 20,000 reviews across Casper, Amazon, and Google, and an average of 4.8 stars. That's how much people love Casper. It's becoming the internet's favorite mattress. I'm sleeping on my new Casper, the Hybrid. They actually have a number of new models. The Wave, which features a patent-pending premium support system to mirror the natural shape of your body. The Essential is great for low cost. It has a streamlined design at a price that won't keep you up at night. Great for a guest bedroom, a student, that kind of thing. And then I'm on the hybrid right now with my kitty cat, Sammy. The hybrid combines the pressure relief of the award-winning foam with durable yet gentle springs. They also have great pillows. I love my Casper king-size pillow. They have wonderful sheets, the Casper glow lamp. You can be sure of your purchase with Casper's 100-night risk-free sleep-on-it trial. They also offer free shipping and painless returns to the U.S. and Canada. And right now, we're going to get you $100 off select mattresses if you go to casper.com/twit1 and using the promo code twit1 at checkout. casper.com/twit1. Some terms and conditions apply. Don't forget to use the offer code TWIT and the number 1 at checkout to get that $100 credit. TWIT and the number code 1. I love my Casper. You will too. Good night's sleep. It's worth its weight in gold. Honest. Casper.com/twit1 and the offer code is twit1. Thank you, Casper, for your support. I'm just looking at all of the stories we could talk about. I love those TikTok stories. Did you ever try, Phil, the Magic Leap?
I did, yeah.
Why do I feel like we talked about this before? What did you think of it?
I thought it was great. Now, I have a high tolerance for wearing extremely dorky stuff on my face. That didn't bother me. In fact, that's kind of a feature. I sort of look for that. But, I may be an outlier in that.
The people who tried Magic Leap loved it. And I remember talking to Amy Webb. She said, you just don't get it. Stephen Levy, you just don't get it. If you just could try it, if you knew. And I'm not talking about this is the developer version that they put out last year. I'm not talking about that, but the actual real Magic Leap apparently was something amazing. Maybe they oversold it a little bit on their website. Remember the school gym with a giant whale coming and splashing? They might have oversold it a little bit, but they were apparently trying something very different, a technology that was much more effective than other augmented reality glasses. The problem is it just took them too long. They raised almost $2 billion. They spent years developing this thing. I think there was some problem, I suspect, in getting it portable enough to be really useful. Company almost went out of business. Earlier this year, they were ready to lay off half their employees, got an urgent round of additional funds, $350 million from the original investors. Now they have a new CEO. And okay, I realize that this is total conspiracy theory, but the new CEO comes from Microsoft. She was there doing biz dev at Microsoft for 6 years. Maybe she just wanted a new challenge. Magic Leap's struggling. Maybe she just thought it'd be, here's an opportunity either to turn it around and become a hero. And if I don't, nobody's going to blame me because it's already kind of fallen apart. I have another theory, and this has happened once before with Microsoft. A Microsoft executive, Stephen Elop, left Microsoft because he didn't look like he was going to get to be CEO and went to a company called Nokia, which Microsoft eventually acquired for billions of dollars. Remember, Microsoft is in the same business with their HoloLens. Am I nuts, Stacy, thinking that this may be the first move in an acquisition of Magic Leap?
Why would Microsoft need? I mean, maybe it's if they could get it cheap. I mean, I've done Magic Leap and I've done HoloLens. Both are good, and HoloLens has actual customers and use cases that Microsoft can charge a lot of money for. I don't know if it needs Magic Leap. And yeah, I think the Nokia deal was not one-off, but
it was certainly nothing to trump it. It was a big write-off in the end. Yeah.
But other people leave big, like if you look at Cisco departures, you're going to see lots of acquisitions from the companies that their executives went to start. So I don't think that's it's not conspiracy. It's just you know what you know. So
maybe Peggy just felt like, I've been here 6 years. Time for another challenge. Completely possible.
Was she working on HoloLens with people like?
She was EVP of Biz Dev. She was doing deals a lot.
Yeah.
But that's not necessarily. That seems like that would be a reasonable person to put in there as a bridge to an acquisition. All right.
Sorry, I'm nodding my head. I'm like, yes.
All right. Maybe I'm
do
nuts. I don't know. The only way this makes sense is if Magic Leap has some secret sauce, which many people have said they do, that is better than HoloLens. It's certainly got to be better than that Magic Leap 1 headset, which I have tried. That was silly. It was roughly the same as a HoloLens. But I think HoloLens is kind of silly too. I don't think that's the end game. Louise, do you have an opinion on these AR glasses? Do you want some?
I just have never gotten into it, and I feel like the pandemic would have been the perfect moment for them to really take off. I don't know if we're just like not ready for this tech yet, if it's not mobile enough. But I mean, I'm, curious and would be interested to kind of delve deeper into some of this tech as it gets, more mainstream. But for now, it's just like, I don't know. It's not something I gravitate towards. And I think that a lot of Americans feel the way that I do.
Oh, I feel the way that you do. I haven't, even with virtual reality, and I have a lot of friends who are big VR fans. Even our 17-year-old spends a lot of time wearing his Vive with his buddies, playing weird, Beat Saber and things like that. But
does it give him vertigo? Like it makes me kind of sick.
Yeah, me too. It makes me nauseous. Yeah.
So I actually think there's a different angle on this, and this was one of our inspirations behind mmhmm is I thought I spent like 20 years, and I've talked to you about this a lot, Leo, like fantasizing about all of the use cases that we're going to build when we finally have like AR headsets that are as small as normal glasses, and imagine all of the amazing functionality that we can have when we're all walking around with these ubiquitous AR glasses. And then we just realized, a few weeks ago and a few weeks into the lockdown that now we all have giant AR glasses. They're just our big monitors that we're staring into all the time.
That is our window to the world, isn't it, these days?
Yeah, and so we just started implementing a bunch of the fantasy use cases that I was saving for 10 years from now. Just kind of thought, well, maybe now is actually a good time to do it.
Interesting.
Staring at monitors. So let's bring out those creative AR ideas and just stick them into monitors. And yeah, it's actually a pretty. I think there's a lot of ideas to be mined in that way. mmhmm is definitely like the first version of that, and there's a bunch more stuff.
So that's really interesting. I think I agree with you, Elise. If these were ready, anything like this were ready, this would be a perfect time. Although I think a lot of what AR, as opposed to VR, what AR is going to do is give you information as you operate in the world.
I think one thing we've seen, which is actually really fascinating, is that people like AR not on the outside world as much, not yet at least, but they actually like it on themselves, right? Like the biggest form of AR that everyone uses all the time is Snapchat filters, TikTok filters.
That's a good point.
So I think that
reverse AR.
So there's this idea of we want to put the glasses on, be able to look at things and get information. And I think that actually might be really useful, especially for something like Google Maps, being told just make a right here. That's so much better than just staring at your phone. But it's interesting that so far what's been really big has been filters. That's the biggest AR application I would say that's the most mainstream.
I never even thought of that. That's a good point.
I don't know, are you guys, it could be because of where I'm at, but I just moved and I bought a house. And I have been playing like crazy because I can't shop right now for things like I need a lamp because there are no lights in my house. So I'm sitting here using the AR function on a lot of the shopping sites to see the furniture in my room, which I used to think was the stupidest thing in the world. But now it is okay, it is not saving me, but it is actually quite helpful. So I've been using that. And then I'll just say, as someone who has played with AR in factory settings, I think there's a huge opportunity for home repair that people could be using right now. I would love, again, I bought a 50-year-old house. So I'm sitting here, I wish there were the AR videos I've tried for wiring airplane engines, because those are the kind of demos I get to do. I wish I could bring that to my fixing the leak in my sink. And I think that would be kind of awesome. And I think the quarantine's probably a really good time for stuff like that.
Okay.
I don't know.
All right. If the technology were ready, I think that's a part of the problem. One of the reasons Magic Leap ran out of runway is it's harder to do this stuff. So one of the big stories this week comes from the information. According to the information, Apple is working with Foxconn, their big manufacturing arm, to develop semi-transparent lenses for AR glasses. And they're actually in trial production. They're literally making thousands of these. According to the information, the lenses are 1 to 2 years away from mass production, but they are making them for testing and so forth. So this confirms a story that Mark Gurman had, who's also a great Apple rumor distributor over at Bloomberg. He said that Apple will have a VR-like pair of glasses in 2021, and in 2022 or 23, they will have actual spectacles that are AR spectacles. Phil, does this match what you've been hearing?
Yeah, but I've also, I'm still waiting for the transparent iPhone from 2017.
Okay, Scoble owes me something for that because that never happened.
Yeah. Look, I think so. I have a hard time thinking about technology advancements in the abstract. I prefer to think of what are the actual use cases that are going to be magical. Like, what do we want to do? So when we're thinking about AR, like, it's easier to think about, okay, if I had this like AR headset that was on all the time, well, how would it improve meetings, for example? We actually designed a bunch of storyboards and features about what we would do to make meetings better with AR headsets. This was even back in Evernote times. But now all of my meetings are looking at a monitor, right? So I can take some of those ideas of how would we make meetings better if we had like ambient, always on information, and we could just apply them. We don't need AR, right? Our actual reality has moved into big monitors for at least, the next months or a couple of years, or at least a large part of it will be. And so I think it's really interesting to sort of take the use cases that we've been storyboarding and designing for AR and just see, okay, well, now that our reality has moved online so much, how do we just introduce this? And we don't need the headset anymore.
Yeah.
I've got a 37-inch monitor strapped to the front of my face for 14 hours a day now.
Sadly, yes.
It all just kind of works. And then once we have those use cases figured out, whether they be in entertainment or home repair or improving meetings or productivity or how we communicate, eventually, sure, we'll be getting out of the house more and more again, and hopefully by then we'll have better AR headsets and hardware, and we can port some of those use cases over to it. The problem I had with Magic Leap, for example, was always that it was shockingly cool. Like, I loved using it, but I'd never heard of what are the actual
what do you
use
do
cases?
with this?
That would be great. Other than a couple of ones that everyone talked about, which was training neurosurgeons. For some reason, there was always you can use it to train brain surgeons.
I know. If you see a brain surgeon working on you and he's wearing Magic Leap, I'd run if you can.
Yeah.
It's like somebody looking at the manual.
Well, it's like I think, Leo, you and I are roughly the same age. I think, or maybe exactly. When I was growing up, when personal computers first started becoming a thing, there wasn't really a lot of commercial software yet. The computer manufacturers would always sell you the idea that you can if you buy this Atari computer, you can use it to. There's always two use cases. There's always balance your checkbook and store your recipes.
Yes.
It was always balance your checkbook and store your recipes.
Both categories have died, by the way. They know.
I'm still not sure what balancing a checkbook means. I don't think I've ever done it. But those were the two things. And for AR, it was always you can use it to train brain surgeons.
Right.
That is the balance your checkbook and store your recipes.
That's what happens when we don't know what's going to happen. We make up weird use cases. Focal, which made North, which made the Focal 1 glasses and was working on the Focal 2 glasses, just got acquired, or it's more like an acqui-hire by Google. But those were glasses that actually were real. We had a review on Hands On Technology. Anthony Nielsen, one of our producers, loves them. And that was just notifications. It is a heads-up display, and it was just putting notifications. I mean, that's the most obvious use, is kind of an adjunct to your phone.
There's a really cool pair of smart glasses made by Jins in Japan. These are normal glasses, but these are by Jins. Jins is it's just this really cool Japanese eyewear company, and they have smart glasses that don't have any display. They just have a bunch of sensors, including there's like a sensor, and they look totally like normal glasses. Like you can't tell there's anything like that. It's a new generation. It just looks like glasses. There's a sensor that goes on the bridge of your nose, and by basically measuring what's going on with the bridge of your nose, they can detect all sorts of stress, emotion, focus, fatigue, and just gives you So there's a next generation of that, which this is the old generation. Maybe the next generation isn't out yet. Or maybe it is.
I'll look and see. Yeah, this is Jim's mmhmm.
Yeah, there's this, and there's like a new generation of that, either out or coming out, I think. And it's really cool. But it's a different direction. It's not AR at all. There's actually no display, but it can do all sorts of things about, telling you about your posture, your focus, your concentration, how fatigued you are. So I think there's we've been focusing a lot on like the immersive displays because those are like sexier. But honestly, the first gen and even the second gen of these wearables is probably the sensors are going to be more important than the display capabilities.
One of the issues is privacy because a lot of early designs had cameras out front. In fact, I have
super creepy.
Yeah, that was too soon. I'm with Phil on this because like we were testing the Echo frames. And I don't think many of us need Madame A on their face. No. But if you're that kind of person, it was really helpful just to say something. And, there's something always on you that is receptive to that. And you look at like what Apple's announcing with their AirPods and their monitors and things like being able to adjust your hearing. Does it adjust your hearing to what you're seeing on the monitor? I can't remember. But basically tying your motions to things that are happening around you. So using that sort of sensor or sensor fusion just to say, hey, I think this is happening with this person. Let me make their life a little bit better by tweaking something. I think that's going to be far more exciting than superimposing the internet in front of us, in front of the real world, right? Yeah. Because that's kind of a crappy thing to want to do all the time.
So you see them, and by the way, these are my fine Snapchat.
Oh, Lord. I thought those were gone.
You can see me coming a mile away with my Snapchat glasses on. These are just a camera. In fact, I went back in my Snapchat account and I found all the videos I shot 4 years ago and then never did any more with these. I think that's an interesting approach. And it kind of goes along with what you were saying, Louise. It's more inward than outward. It's more about lifelong, what do they call it when you write all the information down about what you're doing, or
life logging,
like life logging, or the quantified self, that kind of thing. Maybe that's what we want. That's kind of what these gens do, right? They're looking at your emotions.
So Bose has a set out of the Bose frames, which have some sensors, but also just really good speakers, which are pretty cool. So they're open ear.
They're going to kill their AR, acoustic AR effort, though.
Oh, really?
And I was sad about that, yeah.
Huh.
Yeah. But again, it never really made sense as audio AR. First of all, because that's clearly ought to be pronounced R.
R.
He didn't do it, so it's doomed failure. But I've got 2 pairs of these.
Really?
I put prescription lenses in them. Yeah, we were hacking around on them to make some apps for them, and it's like a lot of things. The product itself is like early, but it's a really magical experience to have very high quality personal audio. That doesn't cover your ears at all. And it's very interesting social signaling. Like people don't see your ears covered, so they're more likely to talk to you.
Right.
Now I only vaguely remember interacting with other people like in the same room. So none of this stuff I think makes sense in the lockdown world, but hopefully soon we'll be out of our apartments again, and that kind of stuff will make sense. But again, the Bose ones are very cool, and no display, just sensors and speakers.
Chat room says if I just had a bowler hat, I'd look like Roger Stone in these Snapchat spectacles.
Ooh, yeah.
I think they're right. So this is interesting. Is this market driven or is it company driven? All the tech companies are looking for the next big thing. I mean, that's.
I think it's just tech driven. I think what it is we're, thanks to really cheap sensors
Right.
You've got amazing ability to process. You've got, on the device.
We can do it.
And you've got, everybody carries a freaking supercomputer that they can connect via Bluetooth to this. And you're like, wait, what can you do with this?
Right.
And I'm really excited. Like, you can tell, like, if you stick a earphone in, I was talking to somebody from Bose, and they were like, you can get galvanic skin response. You can get heart rate information that's super accurate. We got into this whole metaphysical conversation about like how everybody's hearing is different. And so what if you, like, the perception of the world that people have, you could actually change their perspective / perception a little bit by, tweaking the way they hear the world. And if you're a researcher studying this, that's fascinating. Of course, you're going to try to build something that takes advantage of that.
It was probably 5 years ago that we had Jerry Ellsworth on demonstrating her very early AR gaming, and she's getting close now with their product Tilt 5. They're in pre-order mode, where it's a tabletop game. You're wearing these spectacles. You have this wand, and you can play games that on the table in front of you that kind of come to life, a little bit like Microsoft showed with the Minecraft on the table with the HoloLens. This is kind of an interesting slant on it as well. I feel like everybody's kind of nibbling around the edges of this, but nobody has yet found the killer app. Maybe it'll be you, Phil.
That's quite likely.
Yeah.
What these things are is, like, a lot of them are tech driven, a lot of them are company driven. What very few of them are user driven.
Well, that's my question.
These aren't user centric designs. This is the textbook definition of a not user centric design process.
We can do it, so we're going to build it and hope that somebody wants it.
I had exact, and no one says, like, well, what is a person, like, describe storyboard in a high fidelity way? What is the magical experience for the end user?
Right.
And a lot of companies don't get around to that until they put a decade of R&D work into it, and then they just need to, like, shove something out the door.
Right.
That rarely is successful.
Go ahead, Luis.
I was just going to say that I think that's totally right. This is not user-centric. I think that there's a huge race to sell people the next personal tech item, right? There's kind of been all of this fuss in the last couple of years about smart speakers, about things like that you could have in your home. There was kind of the whole rush about AirPods, the next generation of headphones. But if there's going to be another device like glasses that we're going to take everywhere with us, that would be huge. So I think that there's a really big push for, like, let's sell you another form of hardware that you're going to need all the time. And it seems natural, right? Like, it's not very good to have phone neck. I think we would all love a kind of technology where you're looking straight, right? And it, like, actually integrates with the world. Because, like, your cell phone doesn't integrate with the world well. It sucks to walk around looking down at your phone and trying to get where you're going or answer messages, et cetera. But, I don't know if anybody really asked for glasses. It just seems like the natural step. And it'll be really up to these companies to see. But everyone's doing it, right? It's like even Apple has these glasses now. Amazon has these glasses now that they're working on too.
Yeah, the Alexa glass. Lisa,
that's what we tried.
Yeah. Lisa, my wife just bought a long arm with a clamp on it that she could clamp to exercise equipment that would hold her iPad over her head.
Beautiful.
This is exactly it. This is consumer demand, but.
Well, and, like, imagine, like, an Uber driver, for example. Like, that's a great use case for this sort of stuff, because every time I get in a ride-hailing car or whatever, you see that they have that, like, it's like an arm that they have attached to their computer car, right? It's the same thing. And it's like, it seems like getting rid of all of those weird, movable arms would be awesome. But
so in a way, I think that it is user-driven, at least in the sense that we know users love their smartphones and are kind of viscerally connected to them.
I would break it up just a little bit. Users love and need their screen. But I think that's actually a mistake. I feel like we're like, you need the screen, right? The Uber, the television, but you can't put a screen on your glasses, which is where a lot of things have been kind of focused, right? But when we actually try that as people, we're like, yes, for certain jobs. So maybe if you're an Uber driver, but I think most of us probably maybe I'm crazy, don't want to walk around looking at the screen all the time.
No, that's why we want something either in spectacles or in our ear, that we want that, what is, and by the way, let's be honest, it's not an information thing. We're junkies, and we want to somehow jack in all the time to that doom scroll feed, whatever it is, right?
Yeah, I think that's definitely part of it.
Maybe that's probably part of it for a lot of people. I would like it so I can like get somewhere, because I have the world's worst sense of direction. I'm like, I would be happy if my glasses would just vibrate. Yeah.
Actually, I'm with you. I love that in the Apple Watch. That you have to use Apple Maps. I never want to, but if you use Apple Maps, the directions show up on your watch while you're driving, or better yet, even while you're walking. That's really useful, and it buzzes at you and tells you turn left and all. I like that. I agree with you.
That's a good point, though, because despite how useful that is in a lot of ways, smartwatches have also remained a relatively niche consumer product. Like it's like, you never meet anyone who doesn't have a smartphone anymore, but if you have an Apple Watch, it's like, okay, cool, you have an Apple Watch. It's not like out of the ordinary, but I can count, my friends on one hand probably that use their Apple Watch every day.
I think we're at 20% on wearables, actually. So Apple, Fitbit, those kind of things.
It's doing better than we thought it would, perhaps.
It's getting there.
It's getting there. Yeah. I see a lot more people with Apple Watches than before. And I even myself, at first the Apple Watch was, no big deal. Now I wear it every day. I have to have it on. I
feel like a Fitbit, like, even though it's obviously like in the wearables category, I feel like it's a little different, and you're not getting that same like integration of like Apple Maps the way that you would.
Right.
But yeah, that's more than I would have expected, but it's still pretty small.
It's failed because it's too small. It's not, you can't use it. So it's almost there, but it's not that usable, I think, is the problem.
It's like the slightly more polite way to be addicted to tech, because it's like, you're still like glancing at your watch all the time.
But I can't scroll through TikTok on my watch. If I could, maybe I would be doing that all the time.
But you're wearing it all the time. It serves a function. Oh, I'm sorry, Phil.
Oh, it definitely does. Yeah, Phil, go ahead.
I think there's two main approaches to product design that I've seen, that I've tried to be involved with. And both of them, kind of taken to the extreme, generally produce pretty crappy results. There's a design that is very user-centric, that's specifically about solving real problems. Often problems that are actually so common that they're hard to see, because everyone just kind of takes them for granted. And you just solve those problems, and you don't care if the resulting product is ugly or anything like that. And the ultimate example of that is the cup phone. This thing that you see advertised all the time, right?
The WeatherTech cup phone. I actually bought one. Cup
phone, right? First of all, it's not a cup phone; it's a phone cup, right? Let's get that straight. But second of all, obviously that wasn't designed because somebody was like, okay, people are looking for something else to shove into their cup holder.
No.
Right? No, but it was a real problem. People have a hard time.
There's no good way to get a phone holder.
Oh,
that's right.
I never even knew this existed, you guys. Wow.
Oh, I'll give you mine.
But
I don't need one. But I'm I know so many people could use this. Okay, sorry, Phil.
Right. No disrespect to WeatherTech or whoever. The product is ugly. It's got a stupid name.
It's all crappy plastic, and I'm sure they're making.
It totally solves a real problem.
Yeah.
And this is great user-centric design. The opposite example of and it was I'm not sure how much they spent on R&D, but I'm guessing it was not hundreds of millions of dollars.
Yeah.
Right. And the opposite example of that is some of this very tech-driven stuff. It's the AR headsets. It's things that are entirely driven by a company thinking, okay, we need to capitalize on this tech trend. It's not solving any problem. No one asked for it. They're spending a lot of money on research, on design, and often what's produced is amazingly impressive and thoughtful and sometimes beautiful, but it's not user-centric.
Right.
And the best products are in the Venn diagram intersection of those two things, where it's you've identified an actual real problem, often a problem that is so common that no one else is even talking about it because we all have it. Therefore, it's hard to even point out. And then you apply just enough technology to solve it in an elegant way, in a way that couldn't have been solved a few years ago. But you're not bending over backwards to use the newest technology. That's what we try to do. That's what we try to do with this product. With mmhmm. We said all of us right now hate being on video meetings 14 hours a day. It's really tiresome. It's boring. Okay, that's a real problem. That is the cup phone problem. but let's try to solve that in a way that's like
That's
a little
elegant.
bit more elegant
Yeah.
than, and so like it's that Venn diagram intersection that we're always striving for. And very often in a bunch of these other projects like Magic Leap, like they were way on one side of the spectrum or
That's a good point.
another.
Find the middle.
I love this framework, Phil. It's so smart. I will never forget the
Isn't
cup
that smart?
phone.
Yeah.
Although I will say I kind of want a cup phone now because
Oh, I have one.
They are pretty great. I've got one. They're pretty great.
my partner and I just got a car on Craigslist, and it's too old to have
Right.
like whatever. We don't have. You can't display directions in the middle console or
right,
whatever. So
right.
it's really annoying. But I think the cup phone would solve our issues.
Perfect.
They
And
also
cup
have
phone is
the
like-
mounts that go in the air vent.
Yeah, I've done
Yeah, I've
those.
seen those.
It's a lot
I-
better than those. The cup phone
better.
never drops. Like, it's actually a
Yeah.
good product. It's just
Well,
kind of
it
ridiculous.
comes with like 6 cups because you have to size.
You have to figure out.
You have to
oh
size.
My
It has to fit your cup holder, and apparently, I didn't know this. There are many different sizes of cup holders, so you figure out which cup. And now I have, and I don't want to ever throw them out in case I get a different car. I have these cups, these extra cups lying
Well,
around.
I will let you know if we don't have the same cup. I will take your.
You
well,
could
I guess
take
I
my
get all
extra
the cups
cups.
with my order,
You could take
but
my
yeah,
extras.
but
Yeah, I have extra cups.
Thank you. Good to know.
It would be better if it weren't kind of cheap plastic. It's not. It should, if Apple made it, it would be milled aluminum.
And it would cost like
$1,000.
$600.
Yeah.
It'd be $5,000,
Yeah.
but it would be okay.
It would be perfect. You could touch it, and it would balance perfectly. Not
I
some.
love that Venn diagram.
Wait a minute. Close. Wait a minute. Some segments of the economy will never recover. So it's a Venn diagram. On the left, it says clothes you don't need to work from home. And then on the right, it says clothes you can't wear in front of a look how small he made himself, in front of a green screen. And then in the Venn diagram, the intersection of that is green pants.
And I will say also, I appreciate the yellow and blue combining to green.
To
That was like
green.
a
Oh,
little
it's clever.
extra
Yeah.
Attention to
It
detail.
was a nice touch of the.
Yeah.
This is Carlos, one of our illustrators, made it, and I'm like, Carlos, this is a lot nicer than I expected.
There is no future for green pants.
Yeah.
in
But we
the
made,
COVID
we
economy.
made green pants emoji for Slack, and now like in if something gets labeled with a green pants emoji, that means like, yeah, this is a ridiculously unnecessary thing that no one will ever need again. So, the green pants is the ultimate product design that you don't want to be in.
That
right
is
now.
fantastic. That is so good. It's really nice to have smart people on the show who I can learn, and I'm learning. I'm learning right now. I think that's great. Thank you, Phil Libman, for being here. Louise Matsakis from Wired Magazine, Staci Higginbotham. What a fantastic panel. I'll find some more meat you can sink your teeth into in just a little bit. But first, a word from Worldwide Technology. Last trip, I'll always remember this is the last trip I took before shelter in place. We went out to St. Louis to visit with Worldwide Technology, and I was actually blown away. This is a company that does enterprise technology for big and medium-sized companies. They help them integrate it. They help them solve problems, and they're amazing. They're amazing. Their Advanced Technology Center, we saw that, was incredible. WWT, that's the initials, one of the top technology solution providers in the world, delivering business and technology outcomes to large, private, and public organizations all over the globe. They're really in the business of digital transformation. One of the ways they support organizations with this is helping them adopt a multi-cloud architecture. And this is something a lot of people want. Everybody knows we're moving to the cloud, but multi-cloud, the idea of multi-cloud is, well, I don't want to be dependent on any one vendor, but of course it's complex. So you need a partner who understands this, who can help you implement it, who can get it working for you, and that's WWT. They stay with their customers, with their organizations every step of the way, from the vision and the strategy to the enablement to the migration to the optimization to the management, all the way and everything in between. Their cloud consultants will sit down with you, formulate a vision and a strategy, because they know you got to do that up front. They're really one of the things WWT is brilliant on is process. They spend a lot of energy and time studying process and figuring out what's the best way to do this. They know that investments in these cloud architectures only pay off if they align to your business goals, for instance. So they'll work with you through briefings, through workshops. They do this with some of the biggest organizations in the world to unravel the complexities of the cloud so that you can do what you're really there to do. It's not about the cloud for you. It's about unlocking business opportunities, and that's what WWT supports. They're experts in cloud migrations. They do application development, too. In fact, some amazing stuff. That completely surprised me. I had no idea about that part of the company. They can create for you a secure landing zone in any cloud with on-demand labs that give organizations access to tools for microservices and cloud-native development. Once you're up in the cloud, WWT helps with management. That's also a problem, right? Optimization, because they know it's a continuum. You don't just put it up there and forget it. You've got to continually pay attention to it, and especially in a detailed way. Whether the strategy calls for cloud native, hybrid cloud, or on-prem resources, it doesn't matter. WWT works closely with you, their customers, and with Intel to optimize for the latest cloud smart solutions based on Intel technology for security, for performance, for agility. They also feature Intel Optane persistent memory. I love this stuff. Really interesting technology. Other Intel technologies, workload optimized to deliver affordable, large capacity and data persistence for solutions supporting everything from VDI to data analytics. Great company. They call themselves Silicon Valley in St. Louis, but they're available anywhere in the world 24/7. If you want to know more about why organizations across the globe in every industry, in government and private, turn to WWT to guide them on their cloud journey, just go to the website. There's lots of information there, including all the incredible info on the Advanced Technology Center. That's their lab. It's incredible. WWT.com/twit. Don't forget, if you create a MyWWT account there, you can access resources throughout WWT's ATC ecosystem. $500 million in enterprise technology in the ATC. We visited it. It started in one little building. It's spread to 4 or 5 now. It's kind of mind-boggling. WWT.com/twit. Worldwide technology, delivering business and technology outcomes all over the world. We had a fun week this week, including during our after hours on Friday, a game of Clue. I thought we should all enjoy this little movie.
Previously on Twit.
Oh, shoot. I already knew that. I think. This is how you're not supposed to play the game.
The subtitle of this is People Playing Clue Badly.
People without a clue.
So true.
Hands-on tech.
If you want true wireless earphones that emphasize sound over everything else, then you're going to want to check this review out. It's the Sennheiser Momentum True Wireless 2 earphones.
Tech News Weekly.
We had this Smart Home Summit, and it kind of covered for developers what Google has brought forth in the smart home.
The next Android 11, when it comes out, you're going to be able to touch the power button on your phone, and you're going to be able to see your smart home stuff.
I got to tell you, I love this feature.
Security Now.
Still, in this day and age, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 turns out to comprise 1 out of every 142 passwords.
That's crazy.
Found on the internet.
This Week in Google.
Amusement parks are reopening, but because screaming is dangerous, in Japan, they're saying you may ride the roller coaster, but you cannot scream.
Please scream inside your heart. That's exactly how I feel.
Twit.
We're all screaming inside our heart right now. That is the phrase of the week. We're screaming in our hearts. Holy cow. Staci, you paid close attention to that smart home event. I'm not all over the smart home, but could you summarize a little bit?
It's like, do I have to summarize it for the 3rd time this week?
Yeah, sorry. They've got a new program called Works with Google, right?
It works with Hey G. It's the whole, I don't want to set anyone's phone off.
Right.
Okay, so the branding around the event was Works with Hey G. They still called it Works with G when they were talking about it, which felt a little anti-Google because they usually are pretty good on their branding.
Right.
They used to have Works with Nest. But the big news from that thing was actually, one, I never want to do a media product launch thing again. Having it virtual was awesome because it was so efficient.
Yeah.
Okay, that's just me.
No, I'm with you. I'm never going to a trade show ever again.
they borrowed from Apple with putting the HomeKit home app on the phone that's easily accessible. So when you're on your Android phone, you hit the power button and you will now see, or in Android 11, you will see all of your smart home devices and you can control them really quickly and easily from the app. Yeah. So that's good. They also brought local control, which is good for latency. So things are happening faster in your home. Most of the partners are lighting focused, and then there's also Tile. And then they introduced Shed devices, which is smart home entertainment devices. So that's TVs, that sort of thing, bringing the AV component into the Works with Google ecosystem. And those were kind of the big things. I feel like there was one thing that I missed, but maybe you'll ask me about it.
No, I'm done. Thank you very much, Staci.
Okay. Great.
Third time's a charm. Staci is, at least when you lived in Austin, you had a very smart home. Are you going to reinstall all of that stuff in the new house?
Yeah, well, I'm going to reinstall new stuff in the new house.
Nice.
So yes, I will once again make my life miserable so nobody else has to.
It's your husband I really feel for.
You should. He's really, and my daughter. They're both very patient. Very patient people.
Mom, tell me again how we open the blinds.
The nice thing is I'm no longer traveling. So it's not like they have to call me up in the middle of the night wherever I am. And they're like, I don't know how this works.
All the lights came on all at once. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
I get the feeling Louise does not have a smart home.
I do not. I don't have any smart home devices. I'm pretty low tech, which is kind of boring sometimes. I do like some fun gadgets, but I don't even have an external monitor when I'm working from home, which a lot of people find very upsetting.
You work on a laptop, but you don't have anything else. It's just a laptop.
It's just a laptop. Is that scary?
No, ergonomically, that's bad for you. Oh, Louise.
I know.
That's why you've got phone neck. It's laptop neck.
But I move around a lot, so I feel like I've tried to use a monitor, but then I just end up on the couch or on the bed, and it never really sticks. But my partner has 2 external monitors, and I think his back is in a lot better shape than mine. Yeah. So I will agree I'm in the wrong here. Yeah. But
no, I don't think you're in the wrong. I think you're in the right. I think it's also generational, because I think maybe it's because you're not yet fully settled. And so you don't want to put in a smart thermostat and a smart lock and smart lamps and all that stuff. That's kind of more middle-aged, where you're kind of, okay, we're going to really trick this place out. But I don't think anybody in your generation cares one whit about this stuff, which doesn't bode well for its future.
So I was going to tell
homeowners, which is a good point, but
yeah. If you're renting, that's the last thing you want to do. But I even look at my daughter. I gave her, she's 28. I gave her a Google Home, what do they have? Home.
The Mini?
I don't know.
The Home or the Mini?
Screen.
The display. Smart display.
And, she likes it, but she uses it in a very minimal way, And then I look at myself, and I kind of do too. I use it for a kitchen timer mostly.
What were you going to say, though, Staci? Do you think that my generation will catch on to these things more as we, perhaps, maybe, I doubt
settle
it, but
down.
Maybe have more home ownership? Yeah.
So there are 3 times in your life that people apparently buy smart home devices. It's when you buy a new home, when you have a baby, and right after you've been robbed. So.
Makes total sense.
It does.
Yeah.
But I was going to recommend something for you, because I just got one for my daughter, and so far she's using it. So I just got her a USB-C hub, like an Anker one, but they come in like any normal thing, and she just plugs everything into it. And when and it carries power over too, so you can just, when you have a setup, so when you're kind of feeling all icky, you can just plug right into it, and you're then in an ergonomically correct place for an hour, and then you can go away again.
It's like a dock.
I can't pick mine up because I will disengage from the Ethernet if I do that. However, I have one right next to me, and I love it, and it's the best thing ever, especially because I have a MacBook Pro, so I have no ports whatsoever.
You need the dongles.
Yes, that's why. Yes. Okay.
So
good.
No, it's so good. No, that's the best suggestion, and everyone should get one of them, because it's at least you can just escape the ergonomic zone when I need to.
That is going to be so depressing, the Silicon Valley. We've done a lot of market research, and we've discovered what millennials really want: USB hubs.
I love mine. It's great.
Oh my God, it's the worst news ever. Phil, are you? Where do you land on this? Are you automated?
Yeah, I am the dumbest thing in my house. By far.
Do you have smart lights, smart kitchen, all that stuff, or?
Oh no. Actually, I have no smart home stuff. It's just still a true statement, though.
So even though you have a dumb home, you're even dumber?
Almost,
is that what you're saying?
Nothing. Yeah.
I'm hearing that he has cats.
I used to own a house, and it had a lot of smart home stuff in it. But I think I kind of went through that phase, and now on the other side of it, I do have a bunch of the thing that you can't say its name, or else it'll wake up and start talking to you.
Yeah.
And I guess I use that once in a while.
Are you Amazon, Google, or Apple?
I am mostly Amazon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you worry that there was a really good piece we talked about on This Week in Google on Wednesday in Current Affairs, the Bezos future, Nathan Robinson, and it really painted a very dystopian, bleak future in which essentially Amazon rules the world. Do you worry about Amazon's market dominance? And it's not just selling stuff, The goal is to completely control all transactions everywhere.
So I worry about tons of stuff, but I think Amazon, my take, and ultimately this question is above my pay grade, but I think Amazon is net positive for the world. I think the world is better off because Amazon exists in many ways, but that's not to say that it's not also pretty dangerous in the power that it has. But ultimately, I think the way I analyze these big companies is which ones have fundamentally aligned business models and which ones have misaligned business models. And I think Apple, as an example, has a pretty aligned business model. Like Apple wants you to desire their expensive phones, and you want to buy their expensive phones. And so it's all kind of okay. They just want you to buy phones and other devices. So it's like, is it good or bad? It's hard to say, but it's at least everyone wants the same thing. We're all in
alignment. Yeah.
Amazon's model is pretty much in alignment.
Yeah.
You want to buy.
They want to sell
at a low price, and they want to sell it to you.
Yeah.
So it's okay.
Yeah.
Facebook's business model is fundamentally misaligned.
Oh, that's a good point.
Fundamentally, you want to be there to talk to your friends or whatever, and they want to target you with ads, and you don't want the ads, and it's like a fundamental misalignment. Google's business model is very much aligned around their initial core business, which was search ads, right? Search ads are the only ads that are aligned. If I'm Googling for something, it's because I have a high intention of getting it. And so if they show me an ad for it, that's actually not bad. That's pretty good alignment. But they're pretty misaligned in almost every other business.
Brilliant.
And when you look at the places where they get into trouble, it's in their misaligned businesses.
That's right.
They don't get into much trouble with the search ads, even though that's the bulk of their revenue. They get into trouble with YouTube, which is fundamentally misaligned, right? YouTube doesn't want what YouTube viewers want.
Right.
So in that sense, I worry a lot less about Amazon because I think they're a giant, very powerful company, but I understand the business model and it's aligned with what customers want. I worry more about some of these other companies which have no real alignment.
The risk, though, with that alignment is it's very effective. It's like a flywheel, and it becomes very, very powerful. Sorry, Louise, go ahead.
I think your misalignment point is really interesting because I think that we also have to think about the scale of that, right? So it seems aligned for customers in the short term to get a spatula in one day or less. However, the consequences of that for the environment, for the workers involved, for the third-party sellers whose intellectual property was ripped off and Amazon did nothing about it, I don't think are really aligned. So I think it's
they put Spatula City out of business, as we all
Yes.
But I mean, I think what happens when all of this, retail innovation of these small companies, which are basically forced to be Amazon sellers because that's the main platform. I've just seen them be treated so poorly by Amazon because they're not really incentivized to. They should be, but I think that they've gotten so big that they're not necessarily incentivized to help these small sellers. And a lot of them have moved away or tried to, but I think that Amazon is so big. But with that said, I do think some of the things that are held up as the scariest things about Amazon, for example, the fact that they're selling generic label products that are similar to, other products for sale, that people hold that up a lot as like, oh, well, like Amazon's trying to do everything and, that they're selling all these generic products. It's like, have you been inside Sephora? Have you been in a Walgreens? Like, I don't find that very scary, but I do think like, what is the end of like, a drone is going to bring you whatever you want in an hour or less. Like that's kind of what seems to be Bezos's vision. And I do worry about the consequences of that and so their own employees, right? For the environment, we're just going to have houses full of cheap stuff that we mindlessly bought on Amazon. I do worry about things like that. And their alignment is to do as much of that as possible. And that sort of thing I worry about. And I do worry that like my values are not really aligned with Bezos's often. And he has, enormous, only increasing power. So there are things to be worried about. But yeah, I don't know if there's it's like they're Amazon's giving us what we want, quote unquote, but is that what we're going to want in the long term and what's good for like the health of the planet and for ourselves? I don't know. I felt bad when I was ordering a lot of stuff on Prime, and I don't have a Prime account anymore. And I think I do a lot less like mindless consumption because of it.
Interesting.
How do you balance out though the concerns about I think everything you said it resonates with me. I wonder though, like how you weigh hypothetical future problems, like future dangers that Amazon could pose if they act in certain ways against like actual harm being done by other companies right now in the way that they are acting. And like,
I think that Amazon is posing a tremendous risk to the environment right now, and that global warming is happening right now, and it's not something we have to think about as hypothetical. And we know that like, their injury rate is far above the average for, in similar sorts of situations. I think that like sometimes Amazon is held up as this labor boogeyman, perhaps because they're so big. And I think that we have to look at like, labor practices across the board. But I do think that these harms are already occurring. Like they definitely are already happening. And I think that, to Amazon's credit, after they got so much pushback about the environment, I think it's phenomenal that Jeff Bezos wants to donate so much of his wealth to this issue and that they have, really strengthened their climate policies. But for a long time, Amazon just was like, it was like crickets about the environment, whereas a lot of their, competitors, which I know it's hard to compare Apple or Google to Amazon because, they're very fundamentally different businesses in some ways. But, I think we're leading the way on climate. And Amazon was just kind of silent until their own employees started really acting up about this.
I would also prefer a more heterogeneous environment. I worry that if it becomes the company store, then that's when we see the most predacious behavior. Yeah, we like it now, but wouldn't it be in our interest to encourage competition to Amazon just so that we do have choice down the road?
Well, yeah, I mean, and that's a hypothetical. So maybe, right? That would make sense, but that isn't. I think the environmental impact, the labor impact, are very real, and I think that need to be
and happening.
Pressure
now.
needs to continue being applied to it. A lot of the other stuff is hypothetical, like are we going to regret it when there's no other options and they're going to jack up prices? Well, that's.
I think we saw a little bit of that though during the coronavirus when a lot of stuff couldn't be delivered via Amazon, and suddenly we were like,
"You can't get it."
Oh, I can't get my. We'll go with spatula because I actually had to buy one.
And all the stores downtown are gone.
Well, they were both closed, and I didn't have a place anywhere nearby that I could get one. But I think
you don't have a Spatula City in your town.
I don't. I do have a kitchenware store. But they were.
Amazon. So here's a competitor coming along the pike. Walmart is going to start an Amazon Prime competitor this month. $98 a year. It'll be called Walmart Plus. Same day delivery of groceries, fuel discounts, and other perks. Of course, Walmart can do the same day because they have retail outlets in a great part of the United States. Louise, you decided not to have a Prime account. Would you consider a Walmart Plus account?
Absolutely not. No, I mean, and it's not, it wasn't like, this political statement. I think sometimes when I tell people, I got rid of my Prime account, it was not, of course, like, I think that it's important, especially as someone who covers this company, I think it's, it would be a little bit, hypocritical if I was covering this company critically and, I was ordering Prime packages every single day. There are reporters who do that and that's fine, but it wasn't like a holier than thou decision. I was just like, I was buying stuff when I thought about it, and then I would order it so quickly on the Amazon app and then get it and be like, oh, I really kind of wanted this 2 days ago, but I didn't really need it. Like it's just so frictionless. And I think that that's what they're encouraging, right? That's the alignment that they want for you. So I don't want anything like that just makes it way too easy to buy things.
It's too good.
It's too good. Yeah. I think it's like, I want to be more careful and more intentional about what I buy and where from.
Yeah.
But with that said, I have like waited 3 weeks for an Amazon order when I couldn't find when I wanted anywhere else. And I'm like, they're really punishing me for not having Prime now, because now I've waited like 4 weeks for this thing that a Prime person would have gotten.
It's worse.
The next day.
It's worse because you can even have Prime and still be, lately that's been happening a lot, still be waiting 3 weeks. And then you really feel like a sucker. Go ahead, Staci.
Well, that's what I was going to say. This idea of being aligned, they are aligned with, consumers want to buy, housefuls of cheap stuff. And I don't think that's fine for businesses. But then if we go with that, then we have to say as a society, and this gets us into government, which I know everyone has a knee-jerk reaction against government, but that's kind of the stuff that we want to have regulations around. So if we're going to say, hey, Amazon will deliver me the absolute cheapest, fastest, whatever I want, they're going to do it at the expense of maybe workers. They're going to do it at the expense of environmental policy. Then we need to have more robust rules to protect the things we value and add cost to the things that, and that stands in the way of our consumer wants. And that's kind of the goal of that sort of thing.
Right.
But we just don't think like that. It's frustrating.
Yeah, I agree with that. Definitely. And I don't think that business model alignment with the customer, with the end user, is sufficient to make a virtuous company. But I think it's necessary. So I think if you don't even have the alignment, then I can't even, I won't even know where to begin trying to figure out how to
that makes sense.
Like that.
Yeah.
Phil, what would you say now? Like, I'm curious about what you think now, especially that Amazon's advertising business is growing so much. Like, I do wonder about that because, like, in search results, for example, they're becoming more like Google, which is kind of interesting because you're getting potentially the person who paid the most to be that search result on Amazon, not necessarily like the best product anymore. So I think that they're kind of playing with fire there because people do trust that alignment in a lot of ways. But now they're kind of like, we're going to mess with it a little bit by having, paid search results, paid, suggested items and that sort of thing, which is kind of interesting to watch.
And there's a ton of concerning things just around like fake reviews, but also like how they pick the Amazon choice thing. That feels
that's really dirty.
Yeah, really.
So there's lots of things there that are definitely sketchy, and I think we need to keep kind of constant vigilance on a company this powerful.
Do you think we've changed our tune in the last 6 months about government regulation, that maybe people are a little more amenable to an effective government than they were before COVID-19?
For the record, I'd be fine waiting at least another 6 months until we have new government regulations.
Okay. Not a bad idea.
Hold off for just a little bit longer.
Just wait a little bit longer. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, we're getting new government regulations all the time. They're just very scary.
The wrong government regulations. Yeah. Let's take a little break. Come back. You guys are so smart. I'm loving this. Phil Libin is here. All Turtles is his company, his new product. Are you on a green screen? Because that is perfect. That is perfect.
I am.
Okay.
It works with and without. There's like different modes, and so there's a bunch of stuff you can do that actually works better without a green screen. Like a lot of these.
Ooh.
Yeah, I can do a lot of like kind of head in a circle type of stuff, which is pretty cool.
So cool.
Yeah.
This is so cool. I really like it.
Hologram.
This I like.
That's my favorite.
I love the ghost. The ghost film.
All of this stuff works great. Yeah, without a green screen, even better. But the traditional like cutout thing is
the background.
Is better with a.
He looks like he's in his New York loft right now. A
hipster Brooklyn
loft. I love it. Staci Higginbotham is in her hipster Seattle loft.
So it's my millennial pink background that will soon have other things on it.
It's so great to see you. Staci on IoT is her website, stacyiot.com. And of course, sign up for the free newsletter there. It's really good. Louise Matsakis also here from Wired. It's so nice to see you, Louise. And things are going well. So smart. It's so fun to do a show with people who have, where you just go, oh.
I think this is a great lineup.
It is a good lineup. It is. I agree with you.
Not just because I'm part of it, but.
Well, you're certainly a third of it. So I can say that much. So our show today brought to you by Molecule. Now, I am a Molecule fan. I really am. But Molecule is not what you think it is. And I think they maybe got some bad press from people thinking it was, it's an air filtration system. Oh, it's so much more than that. It's for sick office buildings where the indoor air is actually 5 times worse than the outdoor air. EPA says that's very common in office spaces. It's an air purifier it's not about filtration. It's about PECO, or photoelectrochemical oxidation. It actually destroys harmful pollutants in the air like viruses, bacteria, mold, and chemicals. It doesn't filter them or collect them on filters. Molecule's air purifiers are designed to help protect homes, businesses, and medical spaces, destroying pollutants, providing clean air. We have Molecules at home, one in our bedroom, and Lisa always knows when it's not on. We got one for Michael. We use one here in the studio. Molecule air purifiers are designed, they have a variety of them. There's the big ones designed for large rooms up to 600 square feet. There's the new Molecule Air Mini, smaller rooms, 250 square feet. The Air Mini Plus, which helps protect small rooms with a particle sensor and auto protect mode. So it'll adjust the fan speed based on what's in the air. And also brand new, the Molecule Air Pro RX. It's an FDA cleared as a 510K Class 2 medical device. It's intended for medical purposes to destroy bacteria and viruses in the air. It all relies on this PECO technology. And you can go to the Molecule website and read the white papers. I just read one from Lawrence Labs, Department of Energy Labs, where they tested the Molecule, collecting 3 really nasty chemicals that are in a lot of sick offices and other spaces with poor ventilation. Formaldehyde, it's volatile organic compounds like formaldehyde, ozone, and I forgot what the third was. But these are things that are off-gassed by carpets and drapes and so forth. They cleared 95% of the ozone out of the air in minutes. And as soon as it came back on, they turned it off, the ozone came back up because it's being off-gassed all the time. It really works. You will notice the difference. Clean air, if you're spending more time at home, is so important. But when you go back to the office, it might even be more important. The PECO technology meets the performance requirements in the FDA guidance for use in helping reduce the risk of exposure to SARS-CoV-2, that's the COVID-19 virus, in healthcare settings. They got FDA approval. It meets the FDA guidance. In independent testing, they reduced concentrations of MS2, which is a proxy virus they use for testing, over 99.9% in 1 hour. Of course, obviously, that's not enough to protect you. You still have to do all the other important things like masks and social distancing and washing your hands. But it's sure nice to know that you can run your Molecule air purifier and clear the air of those aerosolized particles that quickly, 99.9% in an hour. Molecule's technology and filtration systems have been tested and verified by independent third-party labs for the whole home and beyond. Molecule now offers its breakthrough PECO technology across a range of products, including clean air solutions for a variety of environments. Pick the unit that's best for your space. You can also, if you go to the website, create a discounted bundle to protect your entire home, office, medical or dental practice. You'll see a lot of them in dentist offices now. Many businesses. We're really glad we have them here in our studio. It is a must. For 10% off your first order, your air purifier order at Molecule, visit molecule.com. Enter the code TWIT10 at checkout. This is not your grandpa's air filter. This is something very new, very different, and really works. MOLEKULE.com. Enter the offer code TWIT10. Molecule. Really nice. Let us. We're running. I know you guys are going to be starving any minute now. let me do a rundown of some of the other stories, the mini stories that we can talk about. We mentioned that when Mixer closed down, a couple of streamers were left hanging, but they made a lot of money. Ninja, we think, made more than $20 million when Microsoft lured him away from Twitch. He's now back streaming, but he didn't go back to Twitch. He could have, but now he's on YouTube. You got to wonder, did he get another payday? Ninja is the king of Fortnite streamers. So Mixer was a brief flirtation, but he's now on YouTube. I bet you, we don't know, but I bet you Google offered him a little something. Come over. I'm sure both Twitch and YouTube. And by the way, Facebook too, because they now have a gaming platform. We're scrambling to make him an offer he could not refuse.
I kind of feel bad for him, honestly.
You do?
Like, it must suck. Yeah, I mean, it must suck to like be the premier person on this new platform,
and then
yeah, I feel like it's like, if you made a Quibi show, it's not great.
I don't feel bad there are a lot of Hollywood celebrities on Quibi. I don't feel bad. They got a paycheck. It doesn't.
Yeah,
nobody's.
But like, there's a lot of journalists too who no-name journalists such as myself who made things on Quibi and it didn't,
Do you have
really
a Quibi show?
No, I do not have a Quibi show. But I mean, people at my level who took a risk in their normal career to, be part of
I feel bad for them. Yeah.
Yeah, I think Mixer's, Ninja's a little bit bigger than that, but I think that
he made a lot of money.
Yeah, he probably got a big chunk of change to go there, but I think that's like, now what? It's like you kind of just crawl back. I mean, he has a lot of fans. I'm sure he'll be fine, but it is kind of like, it shows that you can't just have one anchor person or a couple anchor people and hope that that's enough. I think Quibi is another great example of that. You have to have I don't know. I think maybe this area is just too saturated, the same way that streaming was too saturated.
It'd be like if Howard Stern went to Sirius and then the satellite fell out of the sky. It'd be like, now he has to put his tail between his legs.
Well, it sounds like just no one came. I mean, it's kind of like it's an ego thing is what it sounds like you're talking about.
That maybe he failed. Yeah. Like he was paid a lot of money to bring an audience and he didn't. Do you think that's what happened?
I think maybe he brought some of his audience, but that's one guy. It's like, it's just not enough to sustain a platform. It's asking a lot.
It is asking a lot. So what about Quibi? It sounds like you wrote the obituary, Louise. Do you think there's no hope?
I don't know. I mean, I think there's not a lot of downloads. I mean, who knows? It might change, but I don't want to be, caught being the person who, was kind of mean to Quibi. But I don't know. I think that short kind of content that they were talking about is not something I've ever heard anyone say. I've never heard anyone be like,
gee, I wish I had a 7-minute TV show I could watch.
Yeah, it's that's called YouTube. I think that TikTok was smart in that they went even shorter than that. I don't think my brain is not, I don't want to watch a 7-minute video to get this quick thing. That's called a podcast. There's plenty of short daily news podcasts that I can listen to while I get ready for work or whatever. That was in the before times at least. Now it's I just brush my teeth and change into my home work pajamas instead of my sleep ones. But yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure about Quibi. I've only seen some of the shows. A lot of it seems overproduced, but I think it's an interesting concept. But I just think I don't know. I don't know if having it also be it was really hard to share Quibi content elsewhere. And that was one thing that TikTok did really smart is you can just download a TikTok video easily and you can send it to people who don't have TikTok. You can upload it to your Instagram story. And that's something that they really didn't do very well. Either did Mixer. I never saw here's what happened on Mixer today or on Byte. I think all of these new platforms have to really think about kind of paradoxically, how are people going to share our stuff elsewhere?
Well, this is a moment of truth for Quibi because they offered 3-month trials. And I think yesterday I signed up day one and I think mine expired yesterday. So this is a bad week if you're Jeffrey Katzenberg and Meg Whitman, because you're waiting to see, well, how many of those people who downloaded and signed up are staying with the platform? And I have to
What are you going to do?
Are you kidding? I canceled it in the first week.
So the flip side of that is it's a good week to check your subscription settings.
Yes. You don't want to be paying for Quibi by accident.
Yeah.
They raised...
Go
ahead.
It just, for some reason, it always it sort of dripped in with inauthenticity for me. I don't know
That's
why.
right.
I couldn't put my finger on it. But just even from the beginning, like from the announcement onward, it just seemed inauthentic.
I have to be careful because
I can't identify why.
I think I have a natural animus out of Schadenfreude almost. I wanted them to fail because what it was Hollywood's idea of what digital content should be. And if we use the Hollywood model, they raised $1.75 billion. We throw money, we bring in Hollywood celebrities, and we throw money at them and have super high production values. Then all those dumb kids watching TikTok and YouTube videos will see what real production and real content looks like, and they'll flock to us. And so I have a little bit of Schadenfreude that no, in fact, native digital content creators actually do know their audience, and they actually are creating something their audience wants. And maybe it isn't as slick and high production, and you don't have Titus Burgess in your show. But maybe that's what people want. Maybe they want Tyler Blevins. Maybe they want Ninja. Maybe that's what they really want. I don't know. According to Karsten, Quibi lost everybody but 72,000 subscribers this week.
That's way more than I thought, honestly.
That's bad. That's really bad.
That's a lot. I mean, I can't believe that many people signed up.
Oh, hundreds of thousands signed up.
I mean, yeah, lots of people signed up.
Because it was free for 3 months.
Yeah. And you wanted to see what it was about. And there were some ridiculous show premises, like shooting food at the chefs and making them recreate. I really enjoyed just the premises. But I was going to say, I feel like on the internet, even as mature as it has gotten, people like the relationship they have with people. So,
that's interesting.
And Quibi didn't. I'm just trying to, even with YouTube and even with maybe less so with TikTok. So maybe we're just on this spectrum where we're no longer needing that relationship. I don't know. Louise, I don't watch all that much TikTok content, but do you think that's true for people who are younger, maybe?
I'm going to share something disturbing about myself first to preface the fact that I feel like a TikTok expert. I got the notification today from Apple about my screen time, and I spend 10 hours a day on my phone.
Oh my God.
It's really bad. That's definitely a quarantine thing, to be fair. I don't watch any TV. I don't watch any streaming. So take that what you will.
What are you doing? Were you doom scrolling Twitter? What are you doing?
I'm doing Twitter, a lot of time on TikTok, honestly. I do a lot of my job from my phone because you can't message people on TikTok from your desktop. So that's a lot of what it is, or collecting content and stuff.
You have a perfect
that really
excuse.
doesn't justify it.
This is your work.
However, given that, I would say to your question, no, I think that there still is a lot about wanting the personal relationship. A lot of TikTok celebrities just started out as normal people sharing their lives. A lot of this stuff is almost just micro vlogging. That's a very technical way of putting it, but just people being here's what I did today. Here's here's a funny thing my dog did or whatever. And I think it's very personal, very low production value, much lower than YouTube, actually. A lot of these people don't even have ring lights, so I think that definitely there's definitely a pretty...
Oh my God, what amateurs.
I don't have one, but I'm saying if you're making videos on the internet, it's the first thing you buy. So I think that personal connection is still really important. That's a great point about Quibi, is that it was, maybe these household names, but they didn't really work to have that relationship. I've never seen Quibi native stars engaging with people on Twitter or anything like that.
Oh, no.
I think it's just really
They're
hard.
Hollywood. They're celebrities.
Right,
honestly,
exactly.
If I'm Katzenberg and Whitman, I'm looking at John Krasinski's massive success with some good news on YouTube and going, what did we do wrong? It's pathetic, honestly. By the way, I'm looking at my screen time for the last week, averaged 1 hour and 3 minutes a day. So, Louise, you have a problem.
I know. I definitely have a problem, and perhaps I should get more into TV. To be fair, I also listen to a lot of podcasts, and it includes that. So a lot of the time, I'm actually looking at my phone, I'm cooking or something, and it's playing a podcast.
I'm going to be really fair. If you added all my screen time, not just my iPhone screen time, well over 10 hours a day.
Oh, for sure.
Almost every waking minute is spent staring at a screen.
So
something.
I'm at 6 hours. So 5 hours and 58 minutes. So you know what? You're fine.
I feel like other people on this podcast cannot tell me whether they're not a good barometer. But I'm glad to know you're at least 60% of the way there. To me, that makes me feel a little better.
Phil, what do you got?
38. I'm up to 38 hours a day.
Yeah, I thought so. Clearly an overachiever in the business. Clearly.
Yeah. Two big monitors and then phones and iPads.
Yeah, all the time.
If you add them up, definitely more than 24 hours a day.
Yeah.
I thought you were going to say 38 minutes and you were going to be like, I actually meditate for 4 hours a day. And I was going to be like, oh no, I feel horrible now.
Who is that? Jack Dorsey who does that? Yuval Noah Harari, the author of all those great books like the author of one
Sapiens. Great book and a few okay books.
Okay, Sapiens was the great one. Which one was the great one?
Yeah, Sapiens was the great one.
Okay. I like 21 answers for the 21st century. I thought that was but you're right. He's like Malcolm Gladwell. He's kind of recycling
I think Sapiens was great because it's not a field that I know much about, and so I learned so much from it. But then the next one, he starts writing about AI and a few other things and a little bit more familiar territory. And I'm like, yeah, that's not really how any of this works.
Yeah.
Sapiens was mine.
And that was his big thing. The New Yorker profile all about him was that was his grand unifying thesis of life, right? So, I expect if that's what you're working on, but then you get the second book deal and you're like, well, I can't say no to that. Well, how can I apply my thesis to something else?
I've got to meditate 4 hours a day somehow. Let me quickly get one more ad in before we get to our final stories. What a fun show. I don't ever want it to end. But some days it has to. Let me show you this is such a good deal. This is an iPhone SE, which I scored from Mint Mobile. It is $15 a month. And then I got my Mint Mobile service, unlimited nationwide text, talk, and 3 gigabytes of data, $15 a month. For $30 a month, a third what I'm paying for data, for internet and, phone calls alone from the big guys, I got a great little phone at a great little price. That's Mint Mobile. They're selling you the same service. They run on T-Mobile that you get from the big boys, but because they have no stores, they have no retail, there's no hidden fees, they give you an amazing deal. There's the green fox, who has a surprising resemblance to Ryan Reynolds. I just noticed that. Maybe it's the glasses. Mint Mobile is a no-brainer. Premium wireless, $15 a month. By going online only, you're eliminating the cost of retail, and they pass that savings along to you. Every plan comes with unlimited nationwide talk and text, crazy fast 4G LTE. You can bring your own phone. They'll send you the SIM, put it in for free. They'll port your number if you want it. Or you can get phones, like I said, this iPhone SE. That's a great deal on a great phone. Switch now to Mint Mobile. You'll get premium wireless for $15 a month. If you're not 100% satisfied, they've got you covered. 7-day money-back guarantee. And I actually they have a variety of plans. So I did the 3 gigs for a while. I said, this is great. But I thought, I want more data. So I got the 12 gigabytes a month, unlimited nationwide talk and text. 12 gigabytes. I never go through even half that, but it's nice to have it all. You can get 8 gigabytes. They sell it in the chunks you want. $25 a month. So I paid once, $300, got a whole year. That's $25 a month. That is less than a third what I'm paying the big boys for the same service. I think Mint Mobile is awesome. If you are still overpaying for cell service, mintmobile.com/twit. Get that 3-month introductory plan, just $15 a month. You get the SIM shipped to your door, pop it in a phone, or buy a phone from them. They've got great prices. You'll be very happy. mintmobile.com/twit. Cut your wireless bill down to $15 a month. mintmobile.com/twit. We thank them so much for their support for the show. And I love this. I have to say, when you're wearing face masks, Touch ID, fingerprint, not a bad idea. This phone is so cool. Plus, it fits in my pocket. mintmobile.com/twit. Oh, boy, still a few stories to go, but we're getting long. Jack Dorsey donates $3 million to basic universal income. This is Silicon Valley's hope for the future. Was when Yang was running for president. It makes even more sense now, I think. Yes? No comment. Twitter hints at a future subscription service. Twit will not be doing that, by the way. But when Twitter mentioned this in a job listing, their stock price went up 10%. People like the idea of Twitter making money. Has Twitter responded to this? Like, are you covering this story, Louise? Has Twitter?
I haven't covered this specifically, but I did see a lot of funny jokes because obviously the big thing everyone loves to say on Twitter is this website is free. So it will be funny when that website is $2.99 per month.
If it would, you know what? You would get rid of a lot of the bots if you charged even the smallest amount, right?
I will say that I think they're leaning into the fact that Twitter has, including myself, like these power users that I think might pay for some, enhanced features or whatever. I don't know if I would necessarily, but I can sort of see the use case for it, unlike some of these other apps where a lot of people are just kind of more casual users. I think Twitter has rabid, I wouldn't call them fans necessarily, but people who spend a lot of time doom scrolling on there. I could also see some sort of like news service that rounded up like all the important tweets about a certain news topic or something that would be useful to a lot of Twitter's user base, which often a lot of people use the platform for news.
That's how I use it. I don't use it for communication really. I use it for news, and it's like a news feed if you follow the right people. And I would absolutely pay if they brought back the track feature, for instance, which let you track subject matter or hashtags. Honestly, if I could just get rid of the trolls, I'd pay money to use Twitter. Just like have the good Twitter. I don't know how that would work, but if they could do that.
Yeah, I think it's great that they need to experiment with this kind of stuff.
Right.
I think Jack has been pretty serious about the whole, healthy conversations initiative.
They're aligned, aren't they?
I think they're really trying hard to come into alignment. I think they started in a place that was probably similar to Facebook, but I think they've really taken it seriously. And I have no idea whether a subscription thing is real or whether it would succeed, but I think it's critical that they try anything to introduce business models that are fundamentally aligned with what end users want. That's not entirely targeted advertising dependent.
Yeah. Yeah. There's another, like Apple, their advertising hasn't been really a gold mine for them.
That's because it's terrible.
Okay.
If I get any more of those stupid promoted stories about cute dogs or what is it? Oh, makeup mistakes women over 50 make. I'm like,
why are you getting those?
That's so brutal.
That's insulting.
I'm getting all of those mistakes out of the way now. Just to be, I hit 50. I'm just going to.
I think your makeup is fantastic. I think you've done a wonderful job.
That's sweet of you.
I'm not over the age of 50, and I'm like, dang, so mean.
Let's see. I think that's all I really. Are there any stories you guys were anxious to talk about? I mean, I would ask Louise.
I have a story that I would like to get outside takes on because I've been thinking about it for a while, which is the data miner story. And it's related to Twitter. Oh, I should have done a segue. Okay. The story that people were very upset that police officers were using a service called Data Miner that has access to the Twitter API. The police were using it to locate protests during the Black Lives Matter protest. And people were like, this is surveillance. And as someone who, I know Data Miner, I sat through their presentations forever ago. I wanted access to their API so I could build a sentiment analysis thing with a smart light bulb to tell me when companies that I was excited about were popping on Twitter, right? So I looked at the way the police were using it, and I didn't feel nefarious or like surveillance. It doesn't feel great, but I would love to get a take from people who are maybe smarter or just have different opinions on this.
So did Data Miner has the famous Twitter fire hose, which is the everything feed. It's by now must be a very fat fire hose. Do they pay Twitter for that? Very few people have access to it.
I believe they pay for it.
Okay. They must, because it's got to cost Twitter a lot. Twitter says, yeah, they have it, but all people were doing with it was monitoring news stories, just the kind of thing we would want. And of course, the police can use that because if you're following the news, you know where protests are breaking out and so forth. Twitter says that's all they were doing, news alerting.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, where is the line between like what is news alerting and what is surveillance? I mean, I think the line between those things is like not necessarily clear. Like, I think that this is intelligence gathering. I don't know if it's the same as like, secretly asking Twitter for data about users who were tweeting about, the George Floyd protests. Is there a difference between this and, let's say, flying a drone over the protest? For sure. I think that Twitter's argument here is like, this is public information that's being, aggregated, and it's, sentiment analysis. And it's also something that like, a lot of researchers do, for example, is like, collect all the tweets on a certain topic and analyze them. But I do think that the fact that it's police kind of really changes the dynamic here, especially with the way that the police have treated the protesters. But I do kind of, I think it's hard. I don't think it's a use that the average person tweeting about the protest understood it could be used for. And that's sort of like where I come down on this. It's like, for example, I've had a lot of debates about embedding tweets in news stories, right? Like, is that fair? Do you need to get the person's consent, et cetera? And there's a lot of people who say, okay, you tweeted it out, you had to have like known that. However, I kind of fall on the side of like, that's not the intended audience. The intended audience of your tweet was not Wired readers. It was your Twitter followers. So it's not really fair to, assume that that's an audience you would have expected, because it's not. I think if I quoted your tweet or something but didn't link to it, I think there are kind of shades of gray here. But I do think that like, the average person who was tweeting at a protest didn't understand that the police might be like analyzing those tweets for, intelligence purposes. But you were tweeting publicly. So I sort of do think that there's a little bit here or there, but it's not black and white. And I do think I understand why this was a news story and why this was something that like, some people would be, and upset about, for sure.
If people are interested, they should read. It's very detailed, the story that broke in The Intercept. It was their story. And the reason it's of interest partly is because this came up 4 years ago in 2016. Data miner, which is, by the way, data miner is partly owned by Twitter as well as the CIA. The accusation 4 years ago was that data miner and other companies like it were being used to enable domestic surveillance. Twitter said, no, we won't do that. Using Twitter's public APIs or data products to track or profile protesters and activists is absolutely unacceptable and prohibited. And so this has come up again. And that's one of the reasons this is a story.
Oh, I didn't know that they were saying that it had been prohibited from way back then.
4 years ago. Yeah.
Said no. I don't agree with the way it's gone down, but I'm also like, the outrage here feels like it feels good in some ways, because I think people need to understand what it means to have a digital footprint and how that can be used against them. And I would like for them to understand it without having to be arrested. But these stories are important for that reason. But I also am kind of like, was this really a terrible thing, or was just them just using it the way it was supposed to be?
Historically, Twitter has been a place for protesters to organize. The Arab Spring happened on Facebook and Twitter. So this has been a very useful tool for protesters, but I am not surprised that the police and others would try to use it. It is roughly public information, right? You're tweeting it publicly.
I disagree. I think, with the public information thing, basically, I think I kind of have three thoughts about this. The first is it's a creepy company name. And let this be a lesson here.
But there's no E in data miner.
Creepy name.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, but then again, there's Palantir, right?
Yeah,
Palantir
that's
is
really creepy. That's super creepy.
It's literally named after the thing in Lord of the Rings that corrupts everyone who looks at it by giving them too much information.
Yeah.
So anyway, creepy names.
Creepy name.
Learn your lesson, people. But the second thing is like the fact, I think Luis like really hit this on the head. Yeah, it's public information, but that's no longer enough.
Interesting. What's the intended audience?
I would say more than that, right? So the traditional like understanding of privacy, like the Supreme Court understanding of it, is you're not entitled to privacy if you are, walking around outside, right? So like if the cops see you doing something illegal, outside, outdoors, in public, and they don't have a warrant, they don't need a warrant, they can come after you, but they're not allowed to like go inside your house, right? That was always like the distinction.
Right.
But I think that distinction assumes human level capability of observation, not superhuman capability of observation. So when we have the ability to algorithmically and automatically see everything, when we literally are the Eye of Sauron, just the fact that it's like public, I don't think that's enough. I don't think that actually means anything anymore. So yeah, like maybe the police ought to be allowed to scroll through Twitter manually looking for stuff like a person would. But as soon as they start using technology that literally looks at everything, I don't actually think that public versus private makes any distinction. I think it's creepy and Orwellian to do it. And then kind of the third thing is, and I think Leo, I think you said this is like, well, is it terrible, or is it like they were using it the way it was designed? Like, I think it's terrible because they're using it in the way that it was designed.
Right.
Like, yeah, it's not broken. It's in computer terms, right? It's a WAD. It's working as designed. Like this is how they made it to do this kind of stuff with it, which makes it worse. That this isn't a bug or a problem. It's a feature. So yeah, I don't think it's necessarily illegal, but I think the outrage is kind of well placed. I love creepy, and I don't like it.
I love your distinction between what a human could do and then what would be superhuman. So for a police officer to scroll through Twitter looking for Black Lives Matter protests and posts would be okay. But to do it by sucking the fire hose of Twitter and using powerful systems to analyze it and pop up alerts, that's not okay. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I mean, I think the line is somewhere there, right? Yeah. It's like if I tweet something, and I tweet something that maybe is illegal, or there's a crime in progress, and somebody sees it, and like a human being sees it and reports it, or maybe like a human police officer sees it, and like that feels like that's okay. But if there's this super intelligent AI system that's looking at everything everybody says and automatically flagging and detecting things, then there's no longer any difference of that when me saying it publicly versus me like saying it inside the house.
It also introduces a possibility of error, misinterpretation, and things like that, which make it's too powerful in some ways.
I think there was this court case. It was probably a few decades ago at this point, where I remember there was something about the police were using infrared cameras to detect marijuana growers back in the before times when like marijuana growing was illegal. There was some case where the cops would like roll up in front of a suspected house that was engaging in growing marijuana, and they would like point an infrared camera, and they can see because of the heat difference, the heat signature of all the grow lamps. And I think they made some arrests or some busts. And the controversy was like, well, they didn't have a warrant, but the cops were saying like, no, this is public. We were just looking from the outside. We were just passing by in our patrols, and we just happened to see that, your house was too hot. And so we, blah, blah, blah. And of course, like the idea was like, yeah, you're looking from the outside, but you're not looking with human eyes. You're looking with an infrared camera. And that the whole idea of that, like, well, it's publicly visible, like those laws were created assuming a human level of capability, not a superhuman level of capability. And of course, now with, this fire hose of data and with AI, it's much worse than infrared cameras. You can algorithmically see everything. So this whole like hiding behind a fig leaf where, well, you tweeted it publicly, should have known, it doesn't hold water for me.
So the case that you're talking about is a good one because it exhibits like where I think the law is going to break down on these. So that case wasn't because it wasn't their human eyes. It was actually an unreasonable search without a warrant, because they decided that.
And I didn't just make it up because I wasn't sure when I was talking. So thank you.
No. It's Elliot was the name of the guy, but the legal basis for that.
Kylo. His last name is Kylo. It's Kilo or Kylo versus US. As someone who's obsessed with the Fourth Amendment, I can
So it's a Fourth Amendment case. And I think this is because what you're talking about, and that's one of the things I wanted this to be public and talk about it, because I think it's really important for people to understand the limits of their privacy when you have computer vision, when you have the massive powers of today's, computing infrastructure. But as we're seeing, and I think we're going to see really interesting court cases come along, because there are things like Google's getting the requests for all phones that were in an area at the time a crime was committed. Now, that is not a search and seizure issue. So we have to have the laws we have now don't really address that. And if I'm thinking about something like computer vision, right? So if you think about, it's the same argument we're making with Twitter, but if you say that somebody robbed someone in a public square and you did a search for their face and found them and maybe searched the whole country for them. I don't know how we would think about this, but we have to, I think we do need to make a distinction, and we need to do it somehow within a legal framework that makes sense, because I don't know if search and seizure, that's where most of these get, or search without a warrant, Fourth Amendment, that's where most of them fall into, but I don't know if that's robust enough for what we're looking for.
Wow.
As a start, we can just ban all companies with creepy names. Things get the way there.
That's Data Miner and Palantir. You're out. That's over. I wish I had another 4 hours to talk to you guys. So good. I am now fully intrigued by the fact that, Louise, you're a Fourth Amendment fanatic.
I'm excited about that too.
Yeah. Is that a hobby for you, or?
There was a big case. I think it was maybe it was last summer or the summer before. But there was like a time when there was just like a lot of movement in the Fourth Amendment. And we have since hired someone who like went to law school and like is a DC reporter. But at the time I was doing a lot of like legal reporting, and it was just so fascinating in these cases. The other big case that always comes up is they put a GPS tracker on a guy's car, and that was also ruled unconstitutional under the Fourth Amendment. Those are the two like really famous tech cases. But yeah, I love the marijuana case. It was fascinating.
That's the
I think
case.
you guys are really smart on this, and it's a good point.
I'm blown away that 3 out of the 4 panelists remembered a 2001 Supreme Court decision on unreasonable search and seizure. That's amazing. And that you could cite it is even more impressive, Louise.
Louise, did you read Cyrus Farivar's book, Habeas Data?
I have not read the whole thing, but I had it on my desk in the before times, and I've talked to him, I think a couple of times for my stories. But yeah, he's like the guy on this for sure.
Well, we're going to have to get him on. Privacy versus the Rise of Surveillance Tech, Cyrus Farivar. Louise, thank you so much for being here. Louise Matsakis is, of course, staff writer at Wired and Fourth Amendment junkie. You can find her on the Twitter at @Matsakis, Matsakis. Have I been saying that right the whole time, I hope?
Yeah, Matsakis. I think you got it. Thank you so much for having me.
You tilted your head as if it was like, well, for an old guy, you did all right.
No, I was laughing at being a Fourth Amendment junkie.
That's good. That's your new title. We're going to put that in your lower third from now on. Really a pleasure. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thanks for having me.
Staci's been working overtime. She's been on 3 shows now on the Twit Network this week. Thank you. Bless you. We really appreciate it. We'll see you on Wednesday. Jeff Jarvis's birthday on Wednesday. We've got a surprise for him, so I'm excited on This Week in Google. That's going to be fun. Subscribe to Staci's newsletter, StaciOnIoT.com. Listen to her podcast, the IoT Podcast with Kevin Toffel. Follow her at GigaStacy on Twitter. Thank you, Staci. Bye. And Phil Libin, really great to have you on. Man, you're coming back. You don't have to use but you can. His new tool is at mmhmm.app. But you can't get it yet. You got to apply for an invite. I just got lucky, I guess. Floated to the top of the heap. But thank you, Phil. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah, really good. Do you think some of your, by the way, somebody pointed out Palantir, Data Miner, bad names, Quibi. We could also ban Quibi.
I don't know if Quibi is creepy though. It's just kind of, I don't know though. Yeah.
It's a little
if
creepy.
it was like a good test is like if a name was like a creature in Star Trek, so it'd be like good or evil. Like Quibi's would be, yeah.
It would be more like an Ewok than, you know.
They'd be cute.
Yeah,
it would be cute.
A Quibi would
but
be
it
cute.
Would be like cute but deadly.
Do you think that your attitude
Gremlins?
towards data mining a little influenced by the fact that you were born in the Soviet Union?
Yeah, I mean, I think, look, all of this is balancing out two harms, right? The harm of, the harm of crime, of like individual crimes against other people, and the need to reduce the harm that comes from those crimes, which is a very legitimate thing. And then balancing that out with the harm of, state surveillance and crimes committed by states, right, or by large organizations. And there's always a balance between which of those things gets like over dramatized.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And very often, at least in the U.S., at least right now, the individual crime is like we're kind of over indexing on them. It's actually not that big a deal most of the time. And the harm done by massive surveillance at the state level has also not been that terrible yet, but there's definitely strong potential for it.
Yeah. Yeah. The tools are there. And I
having
think
been born and lived a part of my life in a place where the balance very much was there was a lot more harm committed by a powerful state in the Soviet Union than the harm committed by individual crimes. Yeah, I think I generally, have some trauma around that I usually err on the side of let's do a little bit less surveillance, let's do a little bit less data mining, all of that kind of stuff.
Couldn't agree more. Thank you, Phil. Really great to see you. Good luck with I love the title. I love the name, and I think it's a great app, and I've been playing with it, and I think there's a lot we're going to be able to do with it. It's really, really cool. Thank you all for joining us. This has been a fantastic show. We do Twit every Sunday afternoon, about 2:30 Pacific, 5:30 Eastern. That's 21:30 UTC. If you want to watch live, we do a live audio and video stream. It's really that kind of the behind-the-scenes stream, but it's always on at twit.tv/live. If you're doing that, though, join us in the chat room because they're live, too, mostly. irc.twit.tv. That's where the interaction happens. Most of us listen on demand after the fact. You'll find all of our podcasts at our website, twit.tv. They're also on YouTube. You can even ask your Amazon Echo or other voice device, just play This Week in Tech. It'll play the most recent one. Or actually, my preferred way for you to listen or watch is to get a podcast app and subscribe. That way you'll have it the minute it's available of a Sunday evening. We appreciate that. Thank you all for being here. We'll see you next week. Another Twit is in the can.
Amazing.
Doing the Twit.